Now, I know what you all might be thinking. Really, Ed? A Mario Kart video? What, have you been living under a rock? Don't you know that everyone has moved on from the latest Mario Kart a few months after it was released? Are you one of those die-hard Nintendo lovers that desperately want every single other racing game to fail so Mario Kart can be put back into the spotlight? Nah, I just had this video on the burner for a long while and finally decided to finish it up. This isn't a retrospective or a review or anything, just another excuse for me to bellow out some bad ideas and opinions for 2 to 3 hours. Sorry if you were expecting me to White Knight Mario Kart or something. A question that you all might be thinking is, so if this is the video you've been working on this whole time, then why did it take you all the way until now to finally make it? And my answer to that would have to be, work stuff. Look at the way that this fish stares into our souls. It's like she knows what carnage is about to take place in the quiet town of Bikini Bottom, and I couldn't be more happy to add to said carnage.
You call yourself a Nintendo fan? You're a disgrace to the console.
Why do you keep showing up in my videos if you don't like me?
I'm here to keep your bad opinions in check. I won't have you slandering Nintendo or Game Freak any more than you have before in past videos.
I need to start having my friends join me in more videos. This guy sucks as a co-host.
Get back to the topic at hand already, and stop shilling for Sonic Racing.
I finally did it! I took that final plunge and purchased the Switch 2 bundle, with the newest Mario Kart game zip-tied to the box with that slightly more agreeable $50 price tag staring longingly into my cold, dead heart. Yeah, so in case you need a refresher, Mario Kart 9 was released at the same time that the Switch 2 was released, and if you didn't buy the bundle, then you were slapped in the face with an eyebrow-raising $80 if you wanted the game. $80! That would be like if Nintendo slapped a price onto some kind of Switch 2 virtual instruction manual. What kind of moron would think to do that? Thank God Nintendo was above such disturbing levels of greed. So yes, I got my hands on the next title in the series, Expensive Mario Kart, and I got it at a much fairer price of $50, so lucky me! I already had a good idea of what was included in this title, so I was able to jump into the gameplay relatively smoothly, though I haven't really gotten as much time in compared to other games I got recently, like Kirby Air Riders. I also should mention here that I have zero intention of playing this game online due to Nintendo's stubbornness with not letting us race in the classic 3-lap format. If I really want to play Mario Kart online, I will just jump back into Mario Kart 8. But to say that Expensive Mario Kart is a trash game would be wrong because, again, I am having fun with it. I think my favorite part about this game so far is just being able to drive around this big continent with my friends, taking control of the open world like a freaking biker gang. But let's face facts, this game could be a whole lot better than what we got, and with that absurd price tag, I think Nintendo should hop off their gold-plated throne and start adding more content to this game. More racers, more modes, more everything to get us Mario Kart fans hooked again. It worked with Mario Kart 8 when it was given a Switch edition, so why can't Expensive Mario Kart get the same treatment? And that's the purpose of this video, to give my opinions on how to make the newest installment of Mario Kart a true masterpiece. I originally started the footwork of this video as what I would want for a Mario Kart dream game well over a year ago. And while I was finishing the script, Expensive Mario Kart was revealed and subsequently released. It takes a while for me to make these videos. I genuinely do like the ideas that Expensive Mario Kart provided, so I decided to merge my dream game concept with what more content I'd like to see appear, leaving me with the title of My Mario Kart World Dream Expansion, only to then realize that I accidentally mislabeled the title of the game. Yeah, I know. I clearly wasn't paying attention to make such a sad mistake. Hopefully I'll have fixed that error by the time I upload this to YouTube, but yeah. This video is gonna be a collection of who and what I would add to make Expensive Mario Kart so much more fun and exciting. Gonna make that price tag genuinely worth $80. You're welcome, Nintendo. No need to credit me when you inevitably decide to borrow a few of these ideas in future DLC packs. After all, we'll all know that you got the ideas to use those concepts from me. It's okay, guys. It'll be our little secret. Anyways, to give an idea of what I'll be aiming for, Expensive Mario Kart did a fine job building and setting up this sandbox for us to explore in, and honestly, I don't think we need to necessarily change or reshape anything in the world that we already have. Instead, we'll focus focus entirely on adding new stuff for Mario Kart fans to really sink their teeth into. So, how about for this new Dream expansion, we start to focus more on the Mario side of Mario Kart? I thought it would be more fun and quite timeless for this Dream expansion to take inspiration not just from the Mario Kart series, but also the entire Super Mario franchise as a whole. I think there's a lot of potential here, especially since Expensive Mario Kart already has a world for us that we can start to add more to. Just to give us a bit of an outline, this video is going to cover anything and everything that I think Expensive Mario Kart needs to give the game a real 10 out of 10 experience. New characters, new courses, new costumes. I'm gonna try to cover as much as I realistically can, so I hope you're ready for another long video. It'll be like a stream, except edited to hell and back, and the streamer is a dumb fat gray pocket monster that doesn't know how or when to shut the fuck up. Welcome to the channel, by the way. I call myself the ambassador of cringe for a reason. I know that a few of you might only care about certain aspects of my Dream expansion, such as the racers I would add. So in case you only care about one of these parts and not the others, I decided to add a few timestamps on screen for your convenience. Just keep in mind that if you do decide to jump around, you might lose context from earlier parts and get confused as to what I'm talking about. Alright, so if you haven't jumped ahead, I'm assuming that you're here for the whole video, right? So, how about we talk like Waluigi from Mario Kart DS and... Let's go already! By the by, I do not have the ability to provide perfect visuals for exactly what I'm talking about because I am not a programmer nor am I an artist, so I hope you guys can accept just filler Mario Kart footage playing as I talk about certain parts of this video. I only have so much budget. Back to the video. When I look at any franchise kart racer, yet alone this one, I always consider two things: roster and courses. Mario Kart, in my opinion, has nailed the actual courses, so I'm not at all worried about that when a new game is coming. However, I still think that Nintendo has still a bit of a ways to go regarding the other thing that I look for in a racing game: the roster. In other videos I made, I mentioned that Mario Kart 7 has a baller course selection. However, on the flip side, what happened with the roster? Was Junichi Masuda acting as a substitute director that day so you could only program half of the characters? And you didn't pick Waluigi. Mario Kart doesn't just need to focus on the course selection. I also argue that the focus should fall onto the roster, and I feel like most people would agree with me. Now then, what's a good way to focus on the roster for a Mario Kart game besides just their actions during the races themselves? Hey, I have an idea! How about a campaign or story mode? Now, when I say that, I'm not planning on having this insane ultimate bad guy save the world plotline. Of course not. It's Mario Kart. But I do think we should have some kind of 1 to 4 player campaign mode of sorts. Expensive Mario Kart gave us a world, so let's start making some magic happen within it. Coming soon for Expensive Mario Kart on the Nintendo Switch 2. It's the forces of Princess Peach versus the forces of Lord Bowser in an all-out tournament to see which team deserves the ultimate Mushroom Kingdom Cup. Which side is truly the greatest on the track? Prove your mettle in Grand Clash mode as part of the Dream Expansion Pack. Let's get the show on the road. Here we go! In Grand Clash mode, Peach and Bowser finally shake on it and settle on an actual tournament, where both sides must put together a team of racers and outpace the other side with a combined number of points totaled from every participant on both sides. That's right, everybody. Like I said, we're making this game actually worth 80 bucks. So let's start at the beginning and make our way through what to find in this Dream expansion. So obviously nothing is going to change about what we've already had here. Grand Prix, Time Trial, Knockout Tour Versus, the whole shebang, none of that's changing. The only addition that would come with the Dream expansion for these pre-existing modes would be additional rewards that you could earn from doing Grand Prix, Time Trial, etc. with certain characters and certain conditions. Other than that, like I said, nothing has changed about these pre-existing modes, so I'm just gonna jump to talking about the 2 new modes. Okay, maybe more like 1.5 modes, and I'll start with that half mode first, the Personal Garage. Other Mario franchises had similar modes like this, look at the one in Tennis Open, so why can't Mario Kart? The Personal Garage would essentially be your records room. You can keep track of all of your trophies, check to see what achievements you're missing, as well as what you already unlocked. And to really ramp things up, a complete vehicle customization station. Now, I actually think that the kart system we got in Expensive Mario Kart was fine. I'd be cool with vehicle parts individually if they were completely cosmetic, but the vehicles we see in this game don't really allow for part swapping. But you know what we can do? Take all the decal options that we unlocked throughout our time playing the game game and actually place them where we want on our favorite vehicles, like how Sonic Crossworlds and Kirby Air Riders handled that system. And you know what? Let's go one step further. Alongside placing decals and stickers in your chosen spots on vehicles, you could even change the colors of your vehicles to your liking, like Sonic Crossworlds and Kirby Air Riders. Now, to finally have a reason to collect all of those coins without just speeding up your vehicle during the single race, there would be an in-game computer in your garage with a cute little in-universe online shop you can access. And from here, you can use your hard-earned coins to buy more decals and color textures, stuff that you wouldn't be unlocking through the Grand Prix and campaign modes. This would also be where you could go to access Nintendo Online content and download any DLC vehicles. Okay, with the personal garage out of the way, now we can talk about the big new mode, the campaign mode. Let's do this. First of all, there would be two ways to actually start the campaign mode. Selecting story mode in the main menu, yes. But the more fun option is by jumping into free roam mode, where a window would immediately pop up encouraging you to find some sort of event taking place at Peach Stadium. As soon as you reach the location of the event, the screen fades to black, and you are immediately given a choice. Select a team to follow. Once you choose the team you want to join, you are then given the opening cutscene. One for Team Toadstool, which is Peach's team, and one for Team Koopaling, which is Bowser's team. The cutscenes show that Peach and Bowser decided to create this giant tournament to see which side is truly the best at racing. And we see how each side is preparing for their moment on the track. Peach calls for a royal gathering at the bottom of Peach Stadium, where she then reveals that not only is everyone in the Mushroom Kingdom invited to race, but also that anyone outside the kingdom can participate too, declaring that this tournament shall truly be a grand event between the forces of Peach versus the forces of Bowser. Mario and Luigi of course sign up, who immediately jump in their carts to go and meet up with Peach and Daisy. You start as Mario in the classic pipe frame cart at the starting line of Peach's Stadium, or your custom cart if you fiddled in the garage before starting up the story mode. The story mode, or Grand Clash mode, expands upon how free roam worked. You can drive wherever you want to go, except now there's a lot more to look forward to on the courses and on the open road. There would be a tutorial which holds you in Peach Stadium until you learn the basics of what to do, but after that, you're free to go. First, you would have to drive over to where Peach is standing outside of her cart. Easy to do, since a waypoint will tell you the direction of where she went. Once you find her back down below by the train station, you'll find a bright pink warp pipe, one that takes you to Team Toadstool's personal garage. It's just like the one from the main menu, but this one is decked out as Peach prefers it, and there's additional menu options for you to fiddle with.
Hey Mario!
Anyways, Mario enters the Team Toadstool garage for the first time, and Peach explains the basics, then urges Mario to speak with the other racers that have joined Team Toadstool and are currently practicing around Peach Stadium. You, as the player, are then jumped to the character select screen for Team Toadstool, where you can see who already joined Peach's team, as well as those who may want to join but haven't yet in the form of unselectable silhouettes. Since this is going to be a slightly different experience from free roam mode, at first you can only start this mode as Mario, Luigi, or Daisy, whom we saw in the opening cutscene. From here you can leave the garage, back out the pink pipe to where you were before, and once you're out you can drive all around the course heading for the waypoints, each one showing where the other characters are. They're either hanging around next to their carts or actually driving/practicing, slow enough for you to catch up with them. Fun fact, if you haven't unlocked Daisy yet from the Grand Prix before jumping into the Grand Clash mode, then congrats! You just unlocked Daisy for all modes! Yep, starting Grand Clash mode and choosing Team Toadstool at the start is a new alternate way to unlock Daisy. In the same vein, I should point out that Peach is not playable in the campaign yet, seeing as how she's the team captain and still very busy taking care of the event. You'll unlock her much later. Driving up to the other 6 characters that are around gives you fun dialogue with them, including a few faces you probably wouldn't expect to see. From there, you now have the initial 9 racers that joined Team Toadstool, and after switching to the racer and vehicle combo you want in the garage, or the pause menu, you can finally leave Peach's castle and start practicing for the big Mario Kart Grand Clash event, the Clash Cup. Once you finish up a few more tutorials, you're off! So free roam mode in Expensive Mario Kart is essentially just a bunch of random missions that you can just stumble onto by finding P-switches. Believe it or not, I do think this style of exploration has merits. I just think that there needs to be a lot more than just P-switches and medallions. So, in Grand Clash mode, you would be driving around the entire world map preparing for the Clash Cup. You would be searching for and practicing on all of the courses that'll show up on the Clash Cup's list, as well as hunting for and recruiting recruiting new racers that may want to join Team Toadstool. Not every racer will immediately join the team like the initial 9 did, however. There are going to be a great many number of challenges and missions that you have to complete just like in free roam mode, and if you clear the missions, these other characters would be impressed and join the team, adding them to your playable roster in Team Toadstool's garage. And the pause menu. And these missions won't just be for characters. You can unlock other stuff as well, like new vehicles that you can only unlock from this mode. Some missions will net you coins, some will progress side story bits, and some missions will grant new custom outfits and skins for racers that you may have already unlocked. Essentially, the more you explore the world in Grand Clash mode, the more characters, vehicles, and story lore you'll find. You might even find a few independent racers. Select characters that can join either team if you find them. Now, before I forget, you don't have to start playing as Mario on Team Toadstool. You can also start the campaign on the other side. If you join Team Koopaling instead of Team Toadstool, you'll watch the cutscene of Bowser rallying his troops for the Clash Cup. Pretty much just like what Peach did in her opening cutscene. And just like Peach's court, several members of Bowser's forces will immediately stand forward to race alongside the Koopa King. This campaign starts you off by playing as Bowser Jr., with Koopa and Shy Guy also being available in Team Koopaling's garage. It's exactly like how you began as Mario for Team Toadstool. Also, just like how the other team handled it, you do have to drive around as the prince for a little bit at Bowser's castle, talking to the initial 6 before you can depart and explore. And that's pretty much how the campaign mode is gonna go. Explore, practice, train, recruit, and win for the sake of your chosen team. And once you have recruited enough racers and completed enough missions scattered around the world, head to where the team captain is waiting to enter in the first big event, the Clash Cup, which I will go into more detail later. However, I think I explained plenty about my ideas for the campaign mode. I think it's about time we moved on and began the next event, the improved roster of Expensive Mario Kart with the addition of the Dream Expansion. Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines! Here we go! Since I'm only going to be adding to the base roster with new characters, costumes, and alts, I don't think a hard rule list is necessary here. But I will bring up 2 points I think you all should know. First, when it came to new racers, I focused more on the Mario universe as a whole, not just the mainline Mario games, and I really didn't want to add too many third-party guest racers, although a few did make it in. Second, I mentioned that I'm revamping the character select screen, and I did make a new screen for it, which you'll see in a second. But what I mostly meant when I said it is that I think different alts of the same character should all fall under one umbrella, or just one character slot. I much prefer the drop-down menus that we saw in Mario Kart 8. I absolutely love that most characters got a bunch of outfits and the like, but scrolling through them all in execution, ugh. During my dream game phase of this script, I wanted to be somewhat realistic and have a roster cap because, at the time, a crazy long list seemed a bit much. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe finished development with 48 racers, and the game we currently have has 50 as of this game's script writing phase. Though, I'll be real, I have no doubt that number will increase by the time this video is done. But, seeing as how this would be a DLC expansion, adding onto that already impressive 50 character roster, I say the sky's the limit. And again, one of the goals here is to make Mario Kart World actually worth $80. Remember that. Since we're going to be adding costumes and alts for every character, at least the majority of them, I think it would be somewhat reasonable to go over every character. Shut up, this is my video and I like making long-form content. I won't dawdle on racers that don't need a full bio, but I'll still talk about the new content a little bit since, spoiler alert, I did update several characters from the base roster. These moments are insanely rare since I wanted to keep Expensive Mario Kart's base game as unchanged as possible. But in a few instances, I felt that some updates and patches were necessary. The first 18 racers I'll be covering are the initial default racers you can use at the start of Grand Clash mode. These are the racers that are hanging out and practicing around the captain's respective home bases. All Mario and Bowser Jr. would have to do is drive up to them and talk to them, and they'll be available to drive as. No special mission you need to beat for these guys. I'll start with the initial 9 for Team Toadstool, then we'll hop over to Team Koopaling, and then from there we'll cover everybody else in no particular order, for the most part. Buckle up, I said this was going to be a long video. Let's start with the most obvious character in the Mario Kart lineup, Mario. You know, the white bread of Mario Kart. Honestly, I feel bad for the plumber. His name is on the box, and yet he's the most boring character on the roster. He showcased a lot of personality in Odyssey, so it really is a shame he's especially boring in Mario Kart. So let's change that. What Mario needs more than anything else is, again, personality. Though a lot of the costumes he gets in Expensive Mario Kart does help a bit. Besides that, I know exactly how to improve him. Add Cappy. Seriously, the relationship we see between Mario and Cappy is wholesome. Let's have the pair hang out some more on the racetracks. I originally considered Cappy as his own character on the roster, but I think teaming up with Mario works a lot better and gives Mario his own sense of uniqueness that he kinda desperately needs in order to stand out. By now, Mario's probably got a replacement hat, so rather than just hiding inside of any headgear, Cappy would essentially behave like how Luma did with Rosalina in Mario Kart Wii. He'll always be floating next to Mario regardless of which costume you chose, although I'm sure his colors wouldn't change at all. Ah well. Mario got a lot of costumes from both Tour and Expensive Mario Kart, and I don't see a reason why we can't eventually bring most of them in gradually through events, gifts, and updates, etc. But just so that this video can focus on the stuff that I think is more important, let's just list off the 2 that you can unlock normally in the Dream expansion and call it there. First, I'd like to give his white and red fire flower outfit some love, and we could even have Mario provide some pyrotechnics alongside Cappy whenever he pulls off a trick while in his outfit. Speaking of different poses depending on the alt outfit, for my second pick, we're bringing back Tanuki Mario as an alternate costume instead of being an entirely separate character. Tanuki Mario would still pose like he did in Mario Kart 8, including occasionally turning into a statue, but his stats won't change between any of the outfits. It would merely be a matter of taste. Also, duh, but Cappy would serve as the voice for Mario should you decide to choose him for missions in Grand Clash mode. Next up is Princess Peach herself, but since she's going to be serving as the team leader for this game, Peach wouldn't be playable in Grand Clash until near the midway point of the main campaign. This also means that her alts would be some of the later ones you unlock. So, for the 2 new outfits you'd be able to unlock for her, Peach gets to reclaim her cat form as well as all the poses she made that came with it. Because just like Tanuki Mario, there's no reason she shouldn't be allowed to keep that form so long as it doesn't take up a character slot. As for the second, well, sheesh, it was a hard pick, just narrowing down to 1 from what we had in Showtime alone. I ultimately decided on the Phantom Thief outfit, because seeing her race in that would be hilarious. And now for the other Mario brother, Luigi.
Luigi.
I wanted to do something special for Luigi to make him also a bit more unique, so like his brother, we're going to be tweaking him just a bit and referencing his own flagship series, Luigi's Mansion. But let's not scare the bejesus out of poor Luigi for every race. Instead, why not have his trusty spectral companion by his side for company, Polterpup. Unlike Cappy though, Polterpup won't be flying around. He'll instead be directly behind Luigi with his head off to the side enjoying the wind. And obviously he'll still be making poses with Luigi when landing tricks. After Luigi crosses the finish line, Polterpup would crawl into Luigi's lap to either congratulate him on his victory or comfort him should Luigi fall behind 5th. Oh my god. Just thinking about that puts a smile on my face. Besides Luigi's classic green and blue overalls, you can also unlock Luigi's Fire Flower alt as well. Because shush! I like the Fire Flower colors for the brothers. I like to imagine that if Fire Luigi pulls off a trick, Polterpup would make a pose playing with the Fire Medallion from the first Luigi's Mansion game, alongside Luigi's green fireballs. But because this is just another Fire Flower variant, I will also talk about another costume for Luigi in this video. And as a Super Paper Mario supremacist, we have to give him a Mr. L costume, mask and all. And if I had a say in it, Mr. L would have different animations like Tanuki Mario and Cat Peach have. I'm not sure if Polterpup would hang out with Mr. L during gameplay because Polterpup is clearly Luigi's companion. But even if Mr. L raced solo, it would still give him a bit more uniqueness, for lack of a better word. And to finish up the heroic quartet, let's talk about Daisy next. I'm not sure what I would change about her actual character during races, if at all. She's pretty feisty as it is in most of her Mario Kart appearances. I guess I would make her a bit more brazen and competitive, maybe even a bit manic, for example, how she acts in the Strikers series. And just for the memes, I'd probably have her shout, "Hi, I'm Daisy!" during certain actions or tricks. There are several outfits from Tour that have yet to show up in Expensive Mario Kart, so for the Dream expansion, the first of her 2 outfits would be her yukata to match Peach. As for the other, I'm not going to put Daisy in a cat fursuit because that's Peach's thing, and instead I say we let her play with the bubble flower, giving Daisy a purple and orange dress. When she does a trick or lands in the top 5, Bubble Daisy would celebrate by having bubbles pop all around her, and knowing Daisy, if she falls below 5th, those bubbles are going to be a lot more dangerous to her fellow racers. Okay, this one's gonna be fun. Toad is criminally underused in Mario Kart. Before Expensive Mario Kart having only one color palette and not showing any fun or unique personality since Mario Kart 64. If any character deserves a cosmetic boost of sorts, it's this poor guy. Let's just start at the end. In the Dream expansion, Toad would get 5 additional alts to choose from. And they're not just going to be color swaps. Each Toad will look, behave, and act differently from each other, just like how most of them slowly got their own identity in more and more Mario games. The Toad that we've had from the very beginning won't be changing at all, but he will be getting a new outfit sporting a greenish backpack. This is specifically because he'll be referencing the Toad we see in the Mario movie, which will become quite apparent while driving, as he'll behave a lot more brazenly than the other alts, as we saw when he drove that monster truck during the film. What a Chad! Blue Toad will have his signature glasses like he did in Galaxy and Odyssey, with a few trick animations of him adjusting his glasses, and even pulling up a radar of sorts referencing his role in Odyssey. Green Toad doesn't have any physical attributes besides his green spots in vest, but unique only to him is that all of Green Toad's coins are swapped with star bits. When a coin is collected on the road, the star bit sound effect is played instead. The coin symbol on the item roulette is replaced with a star bit symbol, and when Green Toad is struck by an item, several star bits will spill out from his cart instead of coins when he spins out, referencing his duties as Bank Toad from Galaxy 2. Although, these star bits will turn back into coins if other racers pick them up. Purple Toad wears a knapsack on his waist with a symbol of an envelope on it, referencing his role as Mail Toad from Galaxy. Although that's all he has in terms of appearance, you can trigger an Easter egg exclusive to Purple Toad if you come in first if another character was a part of the race. Yellow Toad is probably the most unique of the 5, and that's because I couldn't exactly use the Toad Brigade version that we see in the Galaxy games and Odyssey, because he's a sleepy bum. So instead, the Yellow Toad we see is specifically the one that appears in Super Mario Bros. U, where he's donned the flying squirrel suit, and all the fun animations that could come with wearing that. Unlike with the Toad Brigade, Toadette is a single character, so all the costumes are worn by the same version of the character. Cute, bubbly, all the stuff we've seen before. I don't have much to say about her, honestly. I just think she could use more alts. And I honestly wouldn't want to change her style and animations all that much from what we already have. For one of Toadette's new costumes, she can wield the drill form from a mushroom. And as for the other, as much as I'm sure that people want her to come back, I don't. Farewell, Peachette! Instead, I'm going to be boring and give Toadette her Tennis Aces outfit. And now for someone you probably weren't expecting this soon. Yeah, so I wanted to somewhat balance the initial list of characters on Peach's team with an equal number of weight classes, so Yosh and Birdie are gonna have to wait a bit. Otherwise, we'd have a starting lineup of 0 heavyweights. I also didn't want certain characters placed on the campaign's initial roster for the sake of the story, like ones that arguably wouldn't even live within this solar system, yet alone the planet. I like to think that after the events of Odyssey, Pauline and Peach would work together for the benefit of both kingdoms, and you can even somewhat see that with Pauline showing up way more often as of late. Anyways, Pauline has only one other outfit in Expensive Mario Kart that I know of as of me writing this script. I don't play Tour, and that's her Arrow outfit, so we're gonna have to do some digging for poor Pauline. Rose and party time it is, easy. And I'm gonna be brutally honest, if I find out that in a future Mario spin-off that baby Pauline was added to a roster and not Kid Pauline, I'm gonna yank out my small intestine and eat it. Now, some of you might be thinking, Ed, shouldn't Wiggler be on Team Koopaling given that it's a classic Mario baddie? Well, that was my initial plan until I realized that for almost every instance we see Wiggler in a story-focused-ish Mario game, he was either a neutral-aligned enemy or straight up stood against Bowser. Not every instance, mind you, I'm probably forgetting a game where Wiggler did serve the Koopa King, but there are plenty of examples where this doesn't happen. In Mario 64, a Wiggler that lived on Tiny Huge Island found one of the stars without knowing it was from Bowser. In Mario & Luigi 3, Bowser's Inside side story, Wiggler serves as a boss after Bowser himself pissed him off. And as far as I remember, the Mario Bros never interacted with Wiggler in that game. Wiggler does battle the Bros in the next game, Dream Team, but that was because of Popple pissing him off and not Bowser's orders. In Paper Jam, another Wiggler fights the Bros again, except this time it was because Kamek brainwashed him with magic, not out of loyalty. I think you get the idea, right? In Paper Mario Sticker Star, Wiggler and Mario become quite good friends by the end of the game, and while I know that the game is very unpopular for justifiable reasons, I see no reason to blame that unpopularity on poor Wiggler. So I decided to have it so that Mario Kart's Wiggler would recall Mario's kindness in the past, and that ultimately deal breaks the Caterpillar into joining Team Toadstool. Just to fix the errors that were made in both 8 Deluxe and Expensive Mario Kart, whenever Wiggler gets damaged from an item or a hazard or whatever, he remains in an angry state for about 5-ish seconds, just like how he did in 7. Why even include the anger state if you're not gonna capitalize on it? Now, you might think that Wiggler wouldn't have any alts to work with here, but I am a long-standing Mario fan and I already know of 3 from the jump. First, we can't forget about Flutter, his butterfly form. Then we have the tropical Wigglers from Odyssey, which, yes, might take a bit of elbow grease to make that work, but I think it's worth a shot to at least try. And then we have Wiggler from Super Mario Sunshine. Remember him? He'd be a lot easier. Just shrink him down to normal Wiggler size, have him remain green in color for his enraged form, and give him hands for the steering wheel. And there you have it, 3 different alts for Wiggler for you to unlock. Next up is the Pianta, absolutely joining Team Toadstool, and for alts, this one's easy. In Mario Sunshine, we see Piantas in many colors, so alongside the blue male Pianta we already had, you'd be able to unlock another male Pianta, specifically the yellow one wearing the glasses, and also the pink and orange Piantas, who'd be female. I'm specifically going off of the picture you see here, though funnily enough, while I was grabbing footage from Sunshine, I could not find an orange Pianta wearing that specific pink dress. I probably just missed it, which would be funny if I wasn't trying to at least somewhat be accurate here. Oh well, same type of dress, different colors. I know that we do see more colors of Pianta in the Mario universe, including green and brown, but for this vid, I'll stick with just these 4. And now for the final character for the initial 9 for Team Toadstool. I wonder who it could be. Well, you may have noticed that I'm trying to reference as many different titles as I can in a number of different ways, including making references to them in story beats, such as with Pauline and Wiggler. Well, it's time for one of my whammy picks. You know, a character that you'd probably never expect to see in a Mario Kart game, who wanted to join the Mario Kart Clash event because he wanted to see Mario and Peach again. Why not Gino? Because story. Also, between the two, which one would actually be more interested in fun events like kart racing? And which one was blasted back to the sky at the end of Mario RPG? Exactly, now hush. Gino would be better for Smash Bros. That I agree with. Anyways, Prince Mallow hears about the Peach vs. Bowser Clash Cup tournament and decides to compete as an opportunity to see Mario again. He would obviously be a lightweight racer, one of the lightest in the game, seeing as that he's a literal cloud boy. We don't ever see any alts from Mallow in the one game he appears in, so let's make a few customs for him. Keep in mind, I blew my art budget on the thumbnail. First will be him actually wearing the blue and red Prince pants, which, if you don't know, is Mallow's ultimate armor in-game. And the second will be a custom-made Fire Flower form, giving his cloud body a reddish tint and making the blue parts of his pants a darker red color, you know, because I turned up the red shader. And that would be the main 9 you start with for Team Toadstool. Obviously, you'd unlock more racers and costumes / colors for everybody throughout the campaign mode, as well as during the Grand Prix, time trial, etc. But you can also start the story instead as a member of Team Koopaling and work through their campaign. So let's take a look at Bowser and his initial team of 9, shall we? Our mighty king stands before us. Yeah, just like Peach, Bowser stands as the team leader, and you can't race as him during the campaign until the halfway point, because story. Well, time to piss everybody off again. Dry Bowser is one of his alts. Sorry, not sorry. I realized that this would mean that Dry Bowser would have to weigh the same as Bowser, but that's a small price to pay. Come on, guys, all of his animations would carry over. The blue flames, the spoopy sound effects. We do not need any more duplicate characters on the roster. Unless the weight class is drastic, and Dry Bowser was still a heavyweight racer. As for the other unlockable form or costume, I'm gonna be a weirdo and go for another whammy pick. Molten Bowser from Skylanders, because I think it looks really slick and it's a criminally underused form anyway. Yes, Spyro looks like he got his front flattened by a shovel in the Skylanders series, but I don't think that means the game franchise as a whole is shit. And some of the characters from those games are actually pretty dope in my opinions, but this isn't a Skylanders defense video, so we will move on. From father to son, we now have Junior. I'm sure some people noticed this, but in Expensive Mario Kart, Junior was actually upgraded to a middleweight racer. He's in the same weight group as Peach and Daisy. Personally, I love this because it shows us that slowly but surely, the prince is indeed growing up, as is all of life. I could give him a Shadow Mario outfit, but that'd be dumb. So instead, you can unlock his vivid violet form he gave himself when he used the Wonder Flower on himself. As for the other alt, if I had more time, I actually would have commissioned my friend Foxy to help me bring a new power-up form for Junior to life. But I don't, and I already paid her for the thumbnail fur. So instead, I'll add Meowser Jr. to the roster. I think that's a fine pick. Junior looks different enough from his base form to pull that off, though admittedly it pales in comparison to his Wonder form. And now that I'm adding Meowser Jr., I'm kinda kicking myself for not adding Meowser. Ah well, screw it. The Kamek item is still obviously going to exist, but not having him as a playable racer is bunk, so I'm also adding him back in as a racer. Anyways, first seen in Super Mario World 2, Bowser's Caretaker was a bit of a challenge finding good alts for, because while I easily could have just given him 2 different color cloaks like in other Mario games, I like Kamek standing as a unique character in the Mushroom Kingdom. More importantly, I distinctly remember that in one of the old Mario Party games, there is a different type of Magic Koopa that had a different face. So I delved into the Mario Wiki, and oh, apparently his name is actually Toady, and he's also from Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. Cool. Why does this guy have a custom design but Kamek doesn't? That's silly. But regardless, Toady will be an alternate for Kamek. It'll be like how Metal Mario's name changed in 8 depending on which of the 2 you picked. And to kinda piggyback off of that idea, in Mario and Luigi Brothership they finally did separate the Magic Koopas from Kamek by making the typical minions orange, separate from Kamek's blue. So I'm doing that as well. And, as an added bonus, I'm adding Magifufa from Bowser's Inside Story as a surprise 4th option for this character. Look, this video is gonna be another long one, I might as well go ham again. By the way, even though I talked about him right after Junior, Kamek is not one of the 3 you can instantly switch to play as when you start Grand Clash. But I figured that since he's Bowser's right hand and all, he'd probably play a big role in Bowser's side of the story anyway. He's still one of the initial 9, so you won't be waiting very long at all before you can unlock him. Okay, let's get some of the most loyal minions into the initial 9. You know, the ones that'll stick with Bowser through thick and thin, as well as the minions that just really like to join in at parties. First up is the lovable Koopa Troopa. His costumes are definitely nice, but how has he not gotten any alternate colors? Well, this one's easy. First up is Paratroopa, whom we last saw behind the wheel in Double Dash. Was he in Tour? Probably should have looked that up before recording. He'll be even bouncier than his green shelled buddy on account of having wings. Now for this video, I'll be giving Koopa 5 options to choose from alongside his green original, but I'll only be covering 2 more right now. So you may have noticed that I'm trying to pull from many different Mario games and trying to implement him into the simple story, like I said, and I'm about to do it again. Twice! Introducing Koops and Kylie from Thousand Year Door and Partners in Time respectively. Koops will don his blue sweater and bandages while keeping his green shell. His movements while on the cart will be a lot more dorky and goofy than other Koopas when pulling off tricks, as he's trying to look cool but failing as he does, which in my opinion really makes him all the more unique. Kylie will have her puffy green hat on, which contrasts nicely with her pink shell. Unique to her is the camera hanging from her neck, which she'll grasp during trick boosts to take pictures of the surrounding lands, and in rare instances, even take a few selfies. In case you're wondering, not including Mario Kart games themselves, we've referenced roughly 25 different Mario games so far with the racers. Next up is Shy Guy, and this one is another easy shoo-in. All 9 colors that we saw in Mario Kart 8 can be unlocked in the Dream expansion, including as rewards in Grand Prix, and yeah, I think I made my point about that by now. Alongside the 2 costumes we already had, which, by the way, that Slope Styler outfit, 10 out of 10 in my opinion. Just like the Toad Brigade, many of the unlockable Shy Guys would behave differently or have special quirks unique only to them while racing on the track. Mario Wiki has this chart for Shy Guy that shows which games all the different colors originated originated from, and I might as well stuff as much content into this dream expansion as I possibly can. So let's have some more fun with everyone's favorite shy little buddy. All of them would more or less behave just like we saw them before, except we'll have an additional animation that could possibly trigger during a trick, where the Shy Guys would reference their debut game. The red and pink Shy Guys both originated from Super Mario Bros. 2, or Doki Doki Panic if you want to be specific. The classic red outfit won't have any changes from the base game, even though I did consider it, but in the end, I decided that just the pink Shy Guy would reference his debut game, who would show off a turnip while the throwing sound clip would play. The dark blue Shy Guy would pose just like Mario would, or at least as accurate as his fully tunicked body would let him get away with, and the 1-up sound effect would play, referencing his debut in Super Mario All-Stars. The yellow and green Shy Guys would quickly pull out and don yellow flower masks, referencing their stunts when they pretended to be flowers in order to attack Yoshi during their debut game, Yoshi's Island. When this animation occurs, the sound effect of would play. The black Shy Guy is unique, as it technically has 2 debuts, with a different appearance in each one. The black Fly Guys technically appeared before the black Shy Guys, and they appeared in Yoshi's story, but I decided to reference the other appearance for this instance. When pulling off a trick in Expensive Mario Kart, this Shy Guy would hold up a glove holding a baseball in it while would play. The clip is a direct rip from Super Sluggers, but Black Shy Guys originated in Mario Superstars Baseball. That sound clip puts a smile on my face every goddamn time my friends and I finish a game in Sluggers, so that's why I added that clip specifically. Also, I don't own Superstars Baseball, but I do own Sluggers, hence why I'm using the footage from that game. Just like the black Shy Guys, the white Shy Guys also appeared in Yoshi's story, so we can still reference that game. When they're doing a trick, white Shy Guys will do the love me not act with the health bar flower. The orange colored Shy Guy kicks a soccer ball a few times while an audience cheers him on. But not just any soccer ball, he's specifically kicking the supercharged looking ball that we saw in Mario Strikers Charged. Fitting, since this color of Shy Guy first appeared there. And finally, we have the light blue Shy Guy, and I decided to do something really nice here. He wouldn't have any special animations for trick boosts, but he would have another feature. When playing as light blue Shy Guy, and only light blue Shy Guy, every race would have a 1 in 5 chance of swapping all of the normal sound effects with all of the sounds used in Mario Kart DS. Specifically the intro theme identifying the race course, the startup screen, Lakitu's 3, 2, 1 sound effects, and finally, the start sound. Even the item box roulette theme and finish line sounds would be swapped. Perfect for the Shy Guy who first appeared in Mario Kart DS. Oh, and in case you're wondering why it's 1 in 5, that's referencing Mario Kart DS's release date, 2005. Okay, so this one's gonna be a bit more obscure than the rest. Goomba. This poor sap didn't even get a different color in the base game, so what the heck could I even hope to add? Well, here are my ideas. The first alt is the Bone Goomba, specifically with the design that we first see in New Super Mario Bros. 2, which, if you need a reminder of which game that one is because all of them are named by a 3rd grader, that's the coin-focused one. The animations would be the same, and so would the sounds, because I'm pretty sure this is just a normal Goomba except blue and with a skull on his head, which is funny regardless. As for the other Goomba, I'm gonna be a sneaky stew and go with the odd pick of the Electra Goomba. What was that? Wait, are you serious? My whole life, I thought they were called Electra Goombas. Why did I think they were called Electra Goombas? Anyways, these alien goobers would also be a stand-in for the Goomba, with indeed different animations and sounds, which gives us a healthy 2 choices if you want to spice up these traders to the Mushroom Kingdom. As for the next minion, Hammer Bro! My boy finally made it into the mainline games! Let's f***ing go! Anyways, even though he didn't get any alts in Expensive Mario Kart, he did get them in Tour. I don't actually know which versions of Hammer Bro made it in Tour, because I don't play Tour. For my picks for my Mushroom Kingdom bestie, his... So stupid. Hammer Bro's first form is Fire Bro, donning a red shell and helmet while rocking the pyrotechnics just like Fire Mario and Luigi. This guy was another easy pick. As for the second option, we have Boomerang Bro, who, as we all know, wields a slingshot. Wait, that actually sounds like something a variant of Hammer Bro would use. Okay, I slaughtered the bit. Anyways, Boomerang Bro would have a blue shell. And with that, alongside the base green, we'd have 3 amazing versions of the best character to play as in the Mario franchise. What? Oh, I'm being nav texted that all 3 characters I picked were added into Tour, plus 1 more. Huh. Well, in that case, who did I miss? I missed Ice Bro? Well, welcome aboard as well, good buddy. Chargin' Chuck is up next, and I checked Mario Kart Tour's roster beforehand to make sure I didn't miss anyone because as far as I know, this guy doesn't have any alts. And it turns out Chuck only has 1 alt, the gold version, which I'm not doing. Only Metal Mario gets that honor. So it's time to get creative! In the Super Mario World television show, we see that the Chargin' Chucks have a slightly different appearance. They are orange and green instead of the usual blue and white. Wow, I'm really reaching now.
I'll teach you to mess with my new little buddy Yoshi.
Mama Luigi.
Cool it, caterpillar breath. I'm not your mama? Mama Luigi?
As for the final outfit for Chuck, fuck it, I'm just gonna give him a fire flower and boom, Fire Chuck. Easy. That takes care of the minions. It's time for the final 2 who immediately sided with King Bowser the Magnificent. Who could those 2 be? Team Bowser number 8, King Babomb, King of Kabooms the world over. Yeah, I agree that this big guy should stick around. He would be a bit of a silly pick, just being a big brown black sphere, but the dude deserves the slot, being the iconic first boss in Super Mario 64. As for alts, kind of another case of not having much to work with, and again, I'm not letting him go gold. Besides his usual black body, which I'll be calling his stable mode, he'll also have a red body, which I'll call his countdown color, but this isn't like how Wiggler works. These are gonna be 2 different alts to pick from. As for the second alt, well, shit. Oh wait, let's just give him his iconic old school 64-bit look. Perfect. And now for the last character to join the race right off the bat. Drum roll, please. Okay, you can turn the drum roll off now. The last default racer during the story mode is Morton Koopa Jr. Yes, I know. Hey, don't throw that! So I might have to explain myself on this one, picking one of the Koopalings. A group of characters that most people argue stole slots in Mario Kart 8 for all being too similar. As one of the main 9 for Team Bowser when I could have picked King Boo or Dry Bones. Listen, I get it. I really, really do. But the reason I picked Morton before anyone else is very simple. Bowser Jr. is in the same position that Mario is in over on Team Toadstool. He's the one that Team Koopaling's story is going to revolve around, at least in the beginning of the story, even if you don't choose to play as him. His father is the one in charge, taking control of things on the sidelines, at least for the majority of the story, and I wanted to pick characters that would probably want to be around Junior, at least during the initial part of the story missions. With that in mind, outside the characters that we already have in the initial 9, the Prince doesn't really show himself as much of an extrovert, but he does try, at least a few times. And the one character in Bowser's Armada that bonds with Junior more than any other character is Morton, as we see happen in the remake of Bowser's Inside Story. And if I'm being real, the bond that we see these 2 develop is really wholesome. I have no doubt that while the other Koopalings, except maybe Iggy, would abandon Junior and prepare for the races without him, Morton would see Junior's plight and stick with him no matter what. So, with that in mind, let's give him some costumes and or forms to work with. Of course he doesn't have any forms to work with! I just decided that for this video, I would just give Morton a single alt. To be honest, the alt I gave him is kinda gonna be a cop-out. I gave Morton a green color matching his look from Super Mario World. Sorry. And with that, we have the initial rosters for the 2 campaign modes. As we discussed before, you unlock more characters for both teams as you play through the stories, and any new characters or alts you unlock in Grand Clash also become available for the rest of the game. I'm not sure how many times I could repeat that before I get scolded, so let's just fill up the rest of the roster. Just like how it would work in Grand Clash mode, we'll start to make our way to different courses. But I'll hold off on adding any new courses introduced in the Dream expansion and save them for when we get to the courses section section of this video. How exactly do I add more courses without radically changing Expensive Mario Kart's map completely? I'll get to that, but I'm sure you all can wager a few guesses. We'll alternate between Team Toadstool courses and Team Koopaling courses to keep it balanced, although the number of characters found from each course won't be the same. Like I said, I tried my best to balance out both the number of racers on each team as well as balance out the weight classes to the best of my ability. In Mario Kart 8, every character has a designated weight number, and if I was an actual dev, I probably would try to balance out the weight classes with said numbers, but I'm just gonna be lazy and keep going with the light, medium, and heavyweight classes like how Double Dash and Wii handled it, with a few exceptions as you'll see. Alright, yeah, Yoshi only didn't make it into the story mode 9 because I wanted to balance the weight classes. The two of them would be found on Salty Salty Speedway, which is Birdo's domain. At least I think it is. In case you've actually been reading the bios I have on screen for every character, everyone from here on out has to be recruited for you to play as them in Grand Clash mode, including Yoshi and Birdo, even if my bios don't outright say it. You still gotta clear Green Yoshi's recruit challenge to get him to join Team Toadstool, while new alts and costumes are found in a variety of different ways, as I'm showing on screen. Interestingly, Expensive Mario Kart had Yoshi be in a different color for all of his costumes, and I honestly really like that. A shame that Black Yoshi got canned though, so that's what I have unlocked for Yoshi in Grand Clash. I'm not really sure what I'd have him wear with the good options we already have, so Black Yoshi would just dress how he normally would. Though I would be down to hear what ideas others might have. Okay, so for some reason, Birdo doesn't have alt colors. Every costume is worn with the same pink coloring. I'd actually change that and have each costume be associated with a different color, just like how Yoshi's costumes work. Just working with the selection we see on the Switch 2, Pro Racer Birdo would be red, and Vacation Birdo would be light blue. As for an additional costume we could add, since I'm not an artist, I would just let Birdo wear the Striker's uniform. She seems to really like that outfit, given the pose we see in the official art. Also, you know what? Nuts to it. I'm adding white Birdo to complement Black Yoshi. Lakitu is a character I hope never leaves the roster. Alongside him here at Airship Fortress are two characters I can't imagine would want to practice racing anywhere else. Rocky Wrench and Pom Pom, the latter being another new racer. Lakitu's new alt would be a reference to Lakitufo, where he would have yellow antenna on and swap for a red shell, since the shell he wears normally in Mario Kart is green. Unfortunately for Rocky, I'm sorry, bud, but you fall under the category of characters with no alts or costumes to reference, and we already discussed my commission situation. And then we have Pom Pom. Oh look, a female heavyweight character! Crazy, right? Anyways, Pom Pom was playable in Super Mario Party, so I feel like she has a bit more credibility to her name than her brother. So she would stand as the default, and Boom Boom would be the unlockable alt. Yeah, I hate to say this, but if this were still my dream game instead of being a dream expansion, DLC, whatever, Cheep Cheep would have gotten the boot. I'm sorry if you're a Cheep Cheep fan. Anyways, if you reach the falls as a member of Team Koopaling, you'd only find Cheep Cheep driving around. This is because the red fish is our first neutral racer, who has the potential to join either team. You probably thought that I would just give this fish a simple recolor, which I did consider, but why go for another normal Cheep Cheep when you can unlock an alt to play as Sushi from the first Paper Mario? On the other hand, if you drive to Cheep Cheep Falls while aligned with Team Toadstool, you'll still find Cheep Cheep, yes, but you'll also find Dolphin, who will only side with Mario and Peach's team. This is my quote-unquote main in Expensive Mario Kart, by the way. I'm aware of the hypocrisy on display, but I don't care. Personally, I like to think that the specific Dolphin that's playable in Expensive Mario Kart, Dr. World, etc. is actually the same Dolphin every time. I kinda wish he had an actual name like Plessy does, but whatever, maybe his name actually is Dolphin. And every Dolphin we've seen so far in every Mario game where he's by himself is all the same Dolphin. Unfortunately, Dolphin TM does not have any alts. The only option I had was when he was hired to be a paramedic, but I'm gonna try and avoid relying on the doctor outfits for this one, mostly because if I gave the doctor costume to just Dolphin and not also others like Mario, that'd be really weird. I don't know, make him yellow! Yes, I used the shader again. What do you want from me? You think I wanted to shirk my main in my own video?
Say something, I'm giving
of Dolphin in this game. There's a lot to still find around the Bowser's Castle area, especially if you're on Team Koopaling. But it's not like you can't go to Bowser's Castle as Team Toadstool, you just won't find much there. Just the chance to unlock alts for use for the other modes, but not for Grand Clash until you start a new game as the other team. Here we can find Dry Bones at his own course, another classic. I'm glad you're here to stay, buddy. Who'd have his Dark Bones coloring from multiple games as an alt. Or are the Dark Bones just in Mario Baseball? I better check that eventually. You can also find Fishbone, who is not exclusive to Team Koopaling, cause I had to shift a few alignments around to make the numbers equal, and Fishbones was the first to get ditched. But that's okay though, because now they can be a part of Team Toadstool if you make that perilous journey all the way to Bowser's HQ, or I suppose directly east of there. But hey, don't think I've forgotten that dead link to the south. If you drive there, you can actually attempt to challenge a mission to unlock Fishbone's second alt, Bonefin from Super Mario Galaxy. Honestly, kinda awesome that Dry Bones and Fishbone have similar looking alts with the blood red eyes and all. Also, yes, I plan to toss out Cheep Cheep during my initial script writing, but not Dolphin or Fishbone. Sorry, not sorry, argue with the wall, moving on. What I wouldn't do to have a bunch of characters get off a plane from Sunshine Airport because Al Delfino isn't on the same landmass as the Mushroom Kingdom, but I digress. Peach Beach is our next destination, where we have 2 racers that we can meet and recruit, one exclusive to Team Toadstool and the other being free to join both teams. Let's start with the Noki, who would absolutely prefer the team opposing the pest that sullied her home all those years ago. Same logic as the Pianta, maybe she just boarded a different flight, causing her to show up much later. Anyways, if you're gonna have one Delphinian, you might as well include both. And similar to the Pianta, Noki would have 4 colors to choose from, with 3 females and 1 male. Green, which would be the default, red, blue, and yellow, aka the Dune Buddy. Also, Nintendo, I saw what you did to the Nokis in Mario Kart 8. Ick. No. They're gonna look like how they did in Sunshine, thank you very much. I mean, look at this!
Oh my goodness! Squidward!
Speaking of Sunshine, you can play as a Cataquack now. That's wild to me, but these duck monsters don't seem like the taking sides type. So if one's dexterous enough to drive a vehicle, I'm sure either team would be able to convince it to race for their team. As for an alt, thank goodness, another easy one. Cataquacks have been seen in a variety of different colors throughout the Mario franchise, but I'm not adding every single color that we know of. Instead, I'm going to be extra and have the playable Cataquacks alt be a Plungello, a variant that also debuted in Sunshine. Similar enough to work under the same character slot. The only Plungellos that we see in Sunshine have been red, which is a nice contrast to the blue Cataquack we can play as in Expensive Mario Kart. So I think it works out. Driving around as Team Koopaling in the desert, we have reached the Shy Guy Bazaar, and just so happened to find one of the Koopalings hanging around. Roy's designated zone in New Super Mario Bros. Wii was the desert, and I don't know if he prefers that kind of climate normally, but I didn't want the Koopalings all hanging around the same area together. So here's where you can find them. Most of the Koopalings didn't get alts or costumes, not because I didn't want to add them, but because all 7 were pretty unpopular in Mario Kart 8, and I'd rather not be on the receiving end of any more fan backlash if I can get away with it. Having said that, I still wanted them to be a part of Mario Kart, and I really like the frenemies relationship that Junior has going on with mostly all of them. So if it means that the prince has to once again prove himself to Roy to convince him to join, then so be it. I'm trying to follow some sort of coherent path here, but I'm probably gonna have to start jumping around eventually. The penguins in Expensive Mario Kart live around the snowy area surrounding Sky High Sundae, so it makes sense to me that they'd use this course to practice on. My headcanon is that the penguin you play as, at least for the Dream expansion, is one of the interstellar ones that Mario and Luigi met in the Galaxy games. And as a result, the penguin decides to join Team Toadstool, though I suppose it could also be one from 64. I'm leaning towards Galaxy because it's in the Galaxy games that we see multiple colors of penguins. The swimming instructor and the guru are both classic black, and the penguin racers come in 3 additional colors after blue. The instructor didn't make the cut, but a few of the racers did. Pretty fitting, honestly. Both the captain, or eyebrows if you want to differentiate him, and the green racer can be unlocked by clearing challenges, just like the other alts. Oh hey, this time I only needed to go a bit further south from Shy Guy Bazaar. That's a nice thrown bone. Anyways, Desert Hills is a boring course that's home to 2 Savannah Dwellers. I wanted to put Conqueror at Faraway Oasis, but fine, I'll put him with the rest of his gang. That shell makes me believe that he's 100% a member of Bowser's army, so there's no flip-flopping for the bird. He's a full-on member of Team Koopaling, and sadly, this is another costumeless racer, unless you count the cat form, but that's a little too similar to the original Conqueror. Sorry, buddy. Just in case he's not normally a member of Bowser's Kingdom, the story can be that Junior and Morton convinced Conqueror to side with them after making their trek all the way out to the dumb desert. Go back to Faraway Oasis! Meanwhile, the neutral racer of the two does have an alt. I'm still questioning how this thing can even drive, but he already made it into Expensive Mario Kart, and I said I wouldn't cut racers, so I won't. Also, Pokey has a different form, and we see that different form appear in this game already. Kinda surprised how often we see actual alts in this very game, and Nintendo just went, nah. Thank goodness I'm here to gently nudge them in the right direction. So, yeah, Snow Pokey can be unlocked, and my original plan was to have the player find its recruit challenge somewhere around the snowy area of the map, but I eventually landed on a time trial challenge. Beat the staff ghost and come back if you want to play as the Snow Pokey for Grand Clash. And upon our visit to Starview Peak, we're greeted with 3 familiar faces. I know that Rosalina pretty much warps into the Mushroom Kingdom whenever she feels like it, but I wanted to find a way to weave these guys into the story without just plopping them into the game. And what better place to serve as a great gateway galaxy than Starview Peak? Seems like a clear-cut method to let these guys into the Mushroom Kingdom and participate in the Clash Cup tournament. First up, Rosalina. Gonna say this right off the bat, how Rosalina behaved in Mario Kart Wii was the best, where a Luma just hung out with her. So I'm bringing that back, as well as having the Luma be a different color for every race. We know what Rosalina looks like with the Fire Flower, so she'll have that. And yes, she'll most certainly take advantage of that with pyrotechnics just like the rest of the Fire crew, as will the Luma. Then there's the Honey Queen. What? Did I stutter? Thank you, joke characters are great, fight me. Comically smaller than she was in Galaxy 1, and sounding just as stupid, I wouldn't change her at all. Then we have the newcomer. Lubba is my favorite character in Galaxy 2, and I argue that if the Honey Queen can make it behind the driver's seat, then so can this oversized Luma. A perfect floating heavyweight. I'm sure he'd be thrilled to see the captain of Starship Mario once again. Also, 2 more characters I couldn't add alts to. Dang. On Team Koopaling, we are jumping from Desert Hills all the way to Boo Cinema on the opposite end of the map, where 2 spooky racers are honing their skills, but not the racer you might have immediately thought of. King Boo isn't here, not even to enjoy the haunted screenings, or should I say, screamings. Peepa is here, yes, and overall a nice addition to the roster. Sadly on the no alts list, but on the plus side, the other racer here at the movies is gonna have quite a few. And for once, I actually mean racer. Well, maybe I jumped ahead. Alongside Peepa is Boo, but not just any Boo. Taking up the default slot is none other than the spooky speedster from Galaxy 1, or just the speedster for short, who we already know loves a good competition. Yep, I'm being that guy. You start with the speedster as the default, complete with his trademark racing helmet. If you want to play as just the classic Boo, you're gonna have to find that challenge elsewhere. What a twist! Speaking of twists, here's another one. There's actually 3 variants of Boo you can unlock. The Speedster, the Classic, and the Lady of the Forest Mansion. Bow. Whoops, my bee. Bow is gonna be an interesting interaction when you find her challenge, as she's a good friend of Mario. I'm sure it's gonna take a lot of work for Junior and Morton to try and convince her to join Team Koopaling. So much work, in fact, that I'm sure she'll be one of the harder missions to complete, making Bow one of the toughest character alts to unlock in Grand Clash mode. It's interesting how the king wasn't around though. One of my favorite running bits in Super Mario Odyssey is that one little Tostarenan tourist paying that taxi driver to help him travel the different kingdoms throughout the game and absolutely adoring the sights. Now, that's not the reason why Tostarenan was added to the roster. Believe it or not, he was one of the first new characters that I added to my roster, added even before I started creating the campaign mode. But I did want to reference the Desert Wanderer in the Dream expansion, so why not run into a playable Tostarenian at the big train station having just hopped off the train for the Clash Cup, specifically to watch the the tournament, only for Team Toadstool to convince him to join the race instead. I think that'd be really wholesome. Tostarenin would have 2 additional alts, the green skulled lad we see as often as the blue skulled lads in Odyssey, and a Chincho, which are the mummified versions of the Tostarenins. I know that in the same trailer that showcased Yoshi for the Galaxy movie, 2 more colors of Tostarenins are revealed, which is neat, but good luck finding a PNG of just a pink guy or a yellow guy. I didn't even try. Oh, we found another Koopaling on a safari tour. Honestly, I don't have much to say about Wendy because I used her the least out of the 7 Koopalings, other than that I think she and her fellows deserve to be a part of the roster. Like Roy, Wendy takes a bit of effort to have Junior recruit her, not to mention the trek that you had to take from Bowser's Castle all the way to Faraway Oasis. Hey, want another spooky racing course? Well, too bad. The only spooky racing course in base game Expensive Mario Kart has you recruit 2 members for Team Koopaling. And there are still a few courses that need some kind of encounter. So while you're driving around, if you recruit one of the Toads available for Grand Clash mode, they'll pass a rumor on to you that Toad's Factory has had some spooky sightings recently. And when you drive there, who can be found haunting a vehicle and driving it around the course? Goob from Luigi's Mansion 3. We already know that after Helen and King Boo's defeat, the ghosts of the hotel were revealed to have been brainwashed, just like in Dark Moon. My headcanon is that once the ghosts of the Grand Hotel received word of Peach and Bowser's open to all Grand Tournament, a few of them got together and went, hey, let's go have some fun and race alongside Luigi. A bit of a goof, or goob, I'll admit, but this is my dream project, so shush. But that's not all. Goob has 2 alts in the form of separate characters. Greenie from Luigi's Mansion 2 and Puncher from Luigi's Mansion 1. In case you're wondering, they'd all be medium weight racers, following the same logic as King Boo being a heavyweight. Wario Shipyard with no Wario? Bizarre. Ah well, I'm sure we just haven't found him yet on the map. We'll still have the blooper as an item, but that does not mean that a separate blooper can't race on Team Koopaling. The last time I myself saw a playable blooper in anything, it was in Mario Party 8. Yay! Unfortunately, the only time I got to play as one, and it's Mario Luck Simulator on the Wii. Let's change that, and let him use his own brethren to blind his fellow racers. And now for a surprise alt, Taco from Yoshi's Crafted World, or is it pronounced Taco? And now for a surprise alt, Taco from Yoshi's Crafted World. Yeah, we're referencing lots of different Mario games here. Even games that aren't even technically Mario games. You know, like Skylanders? I know we've already seen a few racers that can join either team, but Dandelion Depths is our first instance of finding a playable character that isn't at the same location as a team-exclusive character. Biddybud is the only one here too, so whether you join Team Toadstool or Team Koopaling, win Biddybud's mission challenge and you'll unlock it either way. It bothers me a lot how we see all 5 colors of Para Biddybud in this game, and yet we can only play as the red one in a game where even Baby Rosalina has multiple alts to pick from. So I'm adding the remaining 4 colors for the Dream expansion. Only the red Biddybud is driving around the depths, but thankfully Red is more than willing to tell you where his Biddybuds are after you recruit him, giving you more challenges to work towards. And honestly, since there are 4 colors to work towards after the red one, maybe for one of them you need to win a time trial staff ghost while playing as a Para Biddybud, just to spice things up. You know what? I feel like we need to talk about another whammy pick like Mallow, a character from a Mario spin-off that's completely unique to the roster, not just a clone or an alt like Koops, Bow, Sushi, or Mr. L. Huh. I just named a bunch of Paper Mario characters. That's a unique coincidence. Out of all the unique allies that Mario can meet throughout the Paper Mario series, I'd wager that Vivian would be considered the most iconic and the most popular. I could be wrong about that, but I think she's still unique enough to jump in, especially since she's not a member of a species that's already represented in Mario Kart. Well, I guess, given the roster I made for this game, maybe she'd fall under the same umbrella as Goob and the rest of the ghosts? Whatever. I like Vivian. As for why and how she ended up lost in Crown City, well, it's because I like the idea of her wanting to join the race to see Mario again, just like Mallow. But in Viv's case, she probably wasn't able to work up the courage to get all the way to Peach Stadium in one go for the initial team registry, and got as far as Crown City where Team Toadstool happened to find her. I love wholesome story bits! Looks like monsters are crawling inside the city pipes again. Thank goodness Mario and Luigi are still skilled plumbers. And that's how you would encounter a sidestepper who would then scuttle off. Except no, because the sidestepper would then jump on a cart. And also, the sidestepper would burst from a pipe regardless of whether or not you have Mario and Luigi, because this crab is another neutral racer. In Mario Bros, you can find sidesteppers in red, blue, and purple colors, so those are the alts you can unlock. Acorn Heights are the natural home to Stingbees, and so it makes sense that one can be recruited here. Either team can recruit this bug, so don't forget to stop by here no matter which story path you chose. I originally didn't give Stingbee an alt, until I was reminded about this unsettling looking creature. What is this thing? Well, my friend, that's an urban Stingbee, introduced to us in Super Mario Odyssey's Metro Kingdom, and one of the most metal playable alts for a Mario Kart racer I've ever seen. Nintendo would probably never let a person play as one during a Mario Kart race, but thank goodness this is just a what-if idea project. What I'm sure was just a hilarious joke in the development room kind of fizzled out for me as soon as I got to play as the cow, and learned that this is the laziest implemented character in the game. She doesn't cheer when she wins a race, she doesn't wince when she's hit by an item. I kept the camera pointed at her face, and the whole time I did, she never once blinked! What a missed opportunity to make a real joke character work. It's like a dude hiding inside a mascot suit. Anyways, Moo Moo Meadows is the practice range for Team Koopaling's Monty Mole and this thing pretending to be a real bovine. Monty doesn't have any alts that I could cling on to, so instead he can wear his Striker's Charged gear, kinda like how Birdo's wearing the Striker's 1 uniform. As for the neutral character, first of all, I'm more concerned with making this thing actually feel like a proper character, but fine, I relent. You can find brown cows in Mario Kart 8, here's the proof. As soon as these Moo Moos are able to express something, yet alone the emotion of joy, I'll actually consider a real alt for us to play as. Several years later, and I still don't think the mountain looks like it's made out of chocolate. It's a better attempt than 8, I'll give you that, but not enough to convince me. On the plus side, if you make your way to this mountain regardless of the team you're on, you'll find Swoop driving around here. I love this little guy, though I am a bit alarmed that she can drive without having her wings on the steering wheel. Like what? I was going to give Swoop another color to work with, but believe it or not, Swoop has a variant of species we can work with. Bat can be unlocked at... Wait, what? Are those guys from Galaxy really just called bats? I'm beginning to think that the goof I made about Dolphin was actually right on the nose. I think the name of the individual character we meet flying around in certain instances is actually just named Swoop. So yeah, Bat can also be unlocked. We've reached DK Pass, but Donkey Kong isn't here. Well, I'm sure he's around. Anyways, you'll find one racer hanging out practicing on the slopes. Snowman if you're with Team Toadstool, and Lemmy if you're with Team Koopaling. Snowman was a bizarre pick, but he's already here, so I will not take him out. Still grateful to Mario for building him a body back on the 64, Snowman decides to join Team Toadstool, and just like the other NPCs, is seen driving a car without having to touch the steering wheel. I was willing to give a pass to Goomba earlier, since we clearly saw them telekinetically wielding baseball bats and gloves.
Goomba is a better picture than I gave him credit. Dude, he's not even a good pitcher. He just defies gravity. I'm telling you, it's just telekinesis. That's how he picks stuff up. Okay. Your shit's tired. Get the f*** out. What the f*** is this?
Okay. Switching out Goomba.
He's defying gravity and logic! I don't care, this is a Mario game! That bitch doesn't belong here!
I don't know what to tell you! But how is a snowman driving a cart? At least with his alt that you can also unlock, Mr. Blizzard has a single arm. Whether or not that arm will actually hold the steering wheel / handlebars, who can say? Lemmy is Lemmy. Definitely the wildest of the Koopalings, and although I'm not helping the situation about the stigma of the Koopalings, I don't have anything to say for Lemmy either. Other than that, I feel like he would be found at DK Pass, since he is found in the Snow World in New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Man, I really am not helping with making the Koopalings look better. I stand by what I said. All 7 Koopalings deserve to stay. But damn it, I have nothing more to add with them. I don't even have a decently acceptable reason why Iggy, or Starlo for that matter, are even hanging around here. I guess for the latter, it's because it's the highest course in elevation that's not Rainbow Road and decided to take a small break from what was supposed to be a visit to Peach's castle when she thought she saw Iggy and believed he was up to no good. Which could be why she's still there by the time Team Toadstool arrives. That could kinda work. Hopefully. Anyways, Iggy is wacky and wild like his twin brother. Honestly, he could show up anywhere, but chose to dick around in the floating ruins. I almost had him join the main 9 due to his big brother-esque attitude towards Junior. But 2 Koopalings as part of that group would get me killed. So instead, I would have Iggy send a message to Junior, signaling where he's practicing so Junior and Morton can meet up with him. And he would be the only character, yet alone Koopaling, to do this in Grand Clash mode. Unfortunately, neither Starlo nor Iggy would have alts. I tried with Starlo at least, but I came up empty-handed. Having said all that, I am happy that I was able to add a unique and recurring character from the Mario and Luigi series into the Dream expansion. We find another Koopaling exploring somewhere random because it was really hard to slot Larry in any place that would actually interest him. According to the games he's appeared in, Larry is a gaming addict with a surprising interest in equestrian sports. I'm sorry, what? Well, unfortunately, there are no horses in Expensive Mario Kart. The only place where I could see horses appearing is at Moo Moo Meadows. And no, there are no horses there. I find out long after the script writing phase that Larry actually got a costume to wear in Mario Kart Tour. That's awesome, but here I was thinking that I was actually making progress on this video. Well, I guess I better rewrite both Larry's and the next racer's segment to have a proper flow. Alright, let's see it. Let's see your special tour outfit, Larry. Wait, he actually looks neat! How is Larry turning out to be the most unique racer among the Koopalings? And that in of itself is wild, because he's sharing a racetrack with Edge? Yeah, I know, f*** Ubisoft, I get it, but like, Mario and Rabbids is actually like, good? I can't say whether or not that's true, but I'll be real, it's the only Ubisoft game that I actually plan to spend money on. This was also another chance for me to throw another female heavyweight at Nintendo's face. The reason as to why I'm so fixated about that is on screen now. Edge is the last character I can ever see actually appearing in Mario Kart games, but I'd laugh if she actually made it into the roster legitimately. And now for the final racer that we can bump into when driving towards particular courses. We have arrived at the course that arguably started it all in Expensive Mario Kart, Mario Kart Circuit, where you encounter the one, the only, and the many, the Mii. The Miis would be able to join either team, and you know what? These guys will also be freebies. Just go to Mario Kart Circuit as soon as you can and interact with them to unlock them for campaign mode. No need to complete a challenge mission to unlock these guys. Having said that, you might have quite a few challenges to do to unlock some of the more fun costumes, like the ones introduced in 8's booster course, though I imagine that getting most of these would simply be a matter of spending your coins at the garage. I would also provide a racing suit that doesn't include a helmet, just like how the Miis looked in Mario Kart Wii. Yeah, so Miis are the last of the racers that you can find practicing at a chosen course, but obviously, since this is still Mario Kart, you can also find a few neutral racers just driving around. They can be found anywhere and you can see them on your map, but until you actually drive up to them, they'll just appear as a question mark, so good luck racing to them. As you progress through the major parts of Grand Clash mode, there are 3 by the way, including the post-game, more and more racers will begin exploring the overworld. These wandering racers behave the same way as characters you drove up to at the actual courses, where to win them over for your team, you have to complete a challenge of some kind, just like you've been doing. The first 5 wandering racers you can find are available from the start, meaning that if you aim for them immediately, they can potentially be the first racers you can unlock for your team, outside the main 9 you recruited at Peach Stadium or Bowser's Castle respectively. Now, you may have noticed that I'm taking my absolute sweet time revealing who these first 5 wanderers are, and that's because I hate them. If I were to make a brand new Mario Kart game that Nintendo gave me complete control over, you can bet that only the first 2 characters I'm about to list off would stick around, if at all. I have witnessed myself how people online talk about how the Koopalings are, quote, wastes of characters who stole available racer slots, only to then main one of these 5 complete thunders and not expect me to point and laugh at them. I'm not gonna make fun of you if you do main one of these 5 characters, especially the first 2, but that is unless you also bitch about the Koopalings, in which case, cry about it. Anyways, in order of having the most justification to stick around to least justification, we have Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, Baby Peach, Baby Daisy, and this complete insult of a character. I played Mario Galaxy, I listened to the storybook. Thanks for flushing all that awesome lore we got down the dunny and continually shoving this character in our faces. Frankly, I'm shocked she didn't appear in Mario Tennis Fever. But all 5 of them are already in Expensive Mario Kart, so I can't and won't remove them. All 5 of these initial wandering racers are neutral and can be recruited by either team because I don't want them actually playing a real part in the campaign mode. You can play as them, and each will have a simple challenge to unlock them, if any challenge at all, but I refuse to implement them any further in the campaign. We did not need 5 baby versions of characters we already had. 2? Okay, fair. 5? Nuh-uh. Hey, so this roster is honestly pretty stacked as it is. I honestly could stop here and the Dream expansion would already be crushing the content that we started with in Expensive Mario Kart, in my opinion. But nonetheless, I'm sure you noticed that there is something seriously wrong with this campaign mode. Yeah, obviously there are still a few mandatory characters that have yet to show up in Grand Clash mode, and up to this point, we haven't really seen them. Not even just driving around anywhere like we saw with other racers. These characters that you're thinking of would most likely not join up with either Peach or Bowser. So, where are they? Anyways, after many skirmishes against the other teams across the map, it's time to pit both teams against each other for real! Once you've unlocked all of the accessible characters that you want racing by your side on your chosen team, you will then have to meet up with your chosen team captain at the entryway to Rainbow Road. And once you've told them that your team is ready, you'll quickly learn that Rainbow Road has been chosen to be the first course you'll be racing on for the main Grand Prix event, the Clash Cup. The Clash Cup is a doozy of a Grand Prix where you'll have to acquire more points for your team than the other over the course of 8 races instead of 4. Race 1 is on Rainbow Road. The next 6 races take place on specific courses related to both Team Toadstool and Team Koopaling, but the order you race them on will be randomized, like how All Cup Tour works in Double Dash. Finally, the 8th and final race takes place in Crown City, a mostly neutral zone between Peach and Bowser's kingdoms. I should also point out that, yes, this is a Grand Prix in Expensive Mario Kart, but none of the courses I'm showing here actually connect with each other smoothly, especially since the order of the courses will be randomized. That's right, everyone! Every single race in the Clash Cup is done in a classic 3-lap format, where once you finish a race, you're jumped right over to the next one, something that Expensive Mario Kart fans really wanted more of. Well, the Clash Cup is my proposal to help fill that void in our souls, at least a little bit. So, in order to actually enter the Clash Cup, you will have needed to complete enough challenges to where you have recruited at least 9 additional racers outside the 9 that you started with on your chosen team among the playable racers that I revealed to you so far. They can be any mix of your team's exclusives and neutral racers, but you must have enough on your chosen team before you can meet up with Peach or Bowser. On top of that, every now and then, whether you drive to a particular course or just driving aimlessly, if a racer from the rival team spots you, there's a chance that they'll drive up to you to challenge you. Besides being a great way to earn alts and stickers for characters you can't recruit to your team, you'll also need to win enough of these opposing team challenges to satisfy the team captain. Think of it as a way to show that you truly are ready to win. TLDR, in order to unlock the Clash Cup, you'll need to have unlocked 18 characters for your team and clear at least 5 opposing team challenges. Once you get to Rainbow Road's gate, you and your team captain must choose which of your current roster will participate in the Clash Cup. There are 24 racers total, 12 for each team, and after your chosen playable character as well as the team captain, you'll need to fill out your side with 10 more characters. Alright, picture this. Clash Cup, final race in Crown City. The current points have Team Toadstool and Team Koopaling neck and neck. It can still be anyone's game. You're in the lead with your team captain right behind you and you're just about to start lap 3. It looks like your team has this in the bag when, all of a sudden...
Excellent!
The screen fades to black just as you start lap 3. The screen lights back up when you realize what just happened. The biggest plot twist reveal dropped on everyone participating in the Grand Clash mode so far. Donkey Kong and Wario's vehicles suddenly swerve in from the sides and steal first and second place from you. And as your character looks behind them, they see their own team captain right behind you, yes, as well as the other team captain behind them. But behind Peach and Bowser, you realize that everyone else from both Team Toadstool and Team Koopaling have just been cut off in the race by 18 new racers to the Clash Cup. This final lap in Crown City suddenly becomes a mad fight to steal first place back from Wario and DK before you can cross the finish line. Even if you don't make it, just seeing a bunch of characters that you could have never seen coming in this circumstance could very well transform into a memorable event that could stick with Mario Kart players for years to come. Maybe. Probably not, but I like to pretend. So yeah, how about that plot twist? As both teams look at the final leaderboard in shock and confusion, it is revealed that the swarm of new racers were made up of 2 additional teams of their own, led by DK and Wario respectively, completely rendering the final results of the Clash Cup useless, an outcome that not even Peach and Bowser saw coming. Nonetheless, Peach and Bowser welcome these 2 new teams into the competition, and it is decided upon that another Grand Prix will be held, and thus begins part 2 of Grand Clash mode, driving, recruiting, and preparing for the next tournament, the Cross Quad Cup. Gameplay-wise, Part 2 would play out in the same way as Part 1. You would drive around the map completing challenges for rewards, competing against the other team in smaller skirmishes, and recruiting more racers for your team. Mostly racers that you may have missed before you met up with your team captain. As soon as you finish the Clash Cup, you unlock Peach or Bowser to play as for your team, so that's a nice freebie for you to start the next part of the campaign. Of course, with 4 teams now competing instead of 2, the stakes just got a lot higher, and now your team really has to kick things into high gear if they want to win the Cross Quad Cup. You'll have to return to several courses that you've driven through already looking for new challenges, as well as encountering the racers that make up the 2 new teams racing for the cup. You'll still be racing for Team Koopaling or Team Toadstool, which means you can't recruit any of the new characters from either of the new teams in Grand Clash. But just like how things were done during Part 1, you'll get plenty of challenges regardless from these opposing faces, and any challenges you clear from them will still reward you for use in the other modes of this game like Knockout Tour or Free Mode. And with all of that cleared up, I think it's time to continue the list of new racers that you can unlock in the Dream expansion. And with that, it's also time to do what Nintendo should have been doing for a while now, and add characters from the supplemental franchises of the Mario universe. As I said, we have a new wave of challenges to win and a whole new tournament to prepare for. So let's continue on our adventure. Once you finish the Clash Cup and the 2 additional teams reveal themselves, you'll find them both driving around all over the place. Most, if not all of them, will behave just like the opposing team challenges were like, where if they spot you, they'll drive up to you and challenge you. But 1 or 2 will still have a designated hangout spot, so it wouldn't be a complete game of hide and seek with the map. I'm sure the team captains themselves can actually be found at their themed courses now, even if we didn't see them during Part 1. Let's start with the Kongs. We now know what DK looks like when given a fire flower, so I know that would be an easy alt to grab from the campaign mode. As for the other characters, yeah, they definitely all get at least 1, but I'm not the most up-to-date on Donkey Kong games, so I'll just skip the alts as I go over the characters, both here and the final team. If anyone has any suggestions, I'd be willing to hear them. So obviously we have Donkey. Diddy Kong is also a guarantee, and I'd be skinned alive if I added an entire group of Kongs and didn't add Funky to the list. I also think Dixie deserves a slot as far as the Kongs go. Oh hey, she made it into Tour. That just solidifies my argument to include her here even more. Okay, before we continue, who else made it into Mario Kart Tour that I should know about? Oh my god. Yeah, I'm just gonna take the word for it if anyone tells me that a character made it into Tour. As for the remaining racers on Team Kong, I'm adding Tiny and Chunky, which I'd say are safe picks.
And then there's Chunky. He's dead.
I'm also adding K. Rool and a Kremling to the roster, because if those 2 can play baseball, then they can also drive a kart. I want to believe that those 2 would also join Team Kong, because I feel like their rivalry could be put on hold when the stakes are bigger than the scope of Kong Island. Maybe this could get me in trouble, but in the Banjo reveal trailer for Smash Ultimate, K. Rool is literally hanging out with Donkey and Diddy. I don't know how canon that could be, but I wager that for the sake of Mario Kart, this wouldn't really ruffle any feathers. At least, I hope not. God, speaking of that reveal trailer, that was such a cute moment, seeing Donkey and Diddy being so cheerful to see their friend again. Man, that was such a good trailer. There are 2 more characters I want to add to Team Kong. Donkey Kong Jr. would be back with 2 versions to pick from. He'd have both his 8-bit sprite version that we see in Super Mario Kart, as well as a 3D up-to-date version referencing how he looked in Tennis 64, because I think the time has finally come for him to get one. I like to imagine that the stage where you race against DK Jr. in the campaign mode would be SNES Mario Circuit. That just seems fitting. The final character for Team Kong is another whammy. I'm adding, quote, the driver that we saw in the Mario movie. You know which one. As far as I know, his name was never actually revealed, so I'm going to give him the nickname of Slick Kong until someone either corrects me or gives him a better name. Wait! Ow! I just thought of a better name. Smooth Kong. Yeah. I already put in Slick Kong, so I can't change it now, but Smooth Kong, second place. Originally going to be listed as Team Wario until the rest of the squad objected. We instead have Team Diamond, referencing the city where WarioWare takes place, featuring a good chunk of the WarioWare gang, as well as Waluigi. Wario got several costumes for this game, which is fine until you realize they didn't include his WarioWare biker outfit. Wait a minute, he did get a biker outfit, but it's not the biker outfit he's famous for. Okay, well, that was easy. WarioWare gear it is. I'm also including the tourist outfit he wore in Move It, because it actually fits so well for Expensive Mario Kart. As for Waluigi, where is Waluigi Pinball in Expensive Mario Kart, Nintendo? 0 out of 10, worst game ever. Waluigi also joined Team Diamond because, like, where else would he go? He certainly isn't going to be running solo when Wario has a team all set up already. I'm just glad that Waluigi made it back in the first place, given how much Nintendo actually does hate this character. Want more proof on top of what we already have? Crack open your copy of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Strategy Guide, jump to page 25 where you can see everyone's racing profiles, including fun descriptions for everybody, and then read Waluigi's description. What the f*** is that? Anyways, I'm adding that new getup he sported in Mario Golf Super Rush because god damn! Now, as far as the WarioWare crew is concerned, I had to narrow down the choices to 8 with Wario and Waluigi rounding at 10. So to decide on who to go with, I went with the characters that actually would want to participate in a kart race. Except Ashley, who, let's face it, gets in by popular demand alone because we all know that she would not be interested otherwise. Oh, if I did this for Ashley, I guess people would kill me for not adding Gino since it's the same situation. I guess we'll see what happens. Dribble and Spitz are the two characters that I argue would be the best fit for Mario Kart, seeing as how they're taxi drivers, so I'm sure they'd love to join in. Driving separately for this competition, but would be found driving together to challenge you on the world map. Mona, 9volt, and Orbulon would also make the roster, given that these three would definitely want to compete, with Orbulon and Mona providing us with a new kart and bike respectively. As for the remaining 2 slots, I decided to choose Jimmy and Penny. Penny is probably the weakest choice, I admit, but none of the other characters seem like they would really fit in Mario Kart or had enough presence in the series to stand as a racer. I had it down to Penny and 18volt, and I went with the former just to even out Team Diamond with another female character. And finally, let's be real, Jimmy is a legend. I know I said earlier that I wasn't going to list these characters with particular courses, but come on, Jimmy would absolutely be found practicing at the Electrodrome. Except the Electrodrome didn't make it into Expensive Mario Kart, did it? God damn it, that's one of my favorite ones too. So the course where DJ Koopa is absolutely blasting beats will have to do. Yes, that course honestly and absolutely sucks, but the vibes are fun at least, and when not tearing up in the sand in his cart, I'm sure Jimmy would be jiving to the harsh beats of the beach, and also surfing. Again, what a legend. Like with the Pointless Babies, several more wandering racers will start driving around the world that you can recruit. Except these guys are not pointless. In fact, I would argue that they have more credibility than the babies being in driving vehicles. They'll appear after you finish the Clash Cup, and from then on will be free to look for. Except this time, 2 of the 5 will only join Team Toadstool, and 2 of the 5 will only join Team Koopaling. But the 5th and final wanderer for this group is a neutral, meaning that you can recruit 3 more racers for your team on top of the characters we already discussed. Nabbit is pretty self-explanatory, being a mainstay now, and despite his mysteriousness, he has been tagging along so much at this point that I think he genuinely would want to join Team Toadstool instead of racing independently. Hence why he's driving around this time rather than running around like he was doing in Free Roam. I would have had him available much earlier, but I didn't want him paired up with the babies. He's better than that. So again, he starts driving around once you finish the Clash Cup, just like with the rest of the Wanderers that I'll be discussing now. Speaking of mysterious characters, another has shown up to race. The infamous Il Piantissimo. Definitely one of the more goofy characters, but I think he does deserve a spot on the roster, especially if we're trying to include characters from other Mario games. How this guy managed to get to the Mushroom Kingdom without being pulled aside at airport security is something I may never have an answer for. That aside, I doubt he'd want to join either team, but he did have a rivalry with Mario, so I'd imagine if Mario asked, he'd join Team Toadstool, but not until you clear a this challenge, which given the circumstances would probably be hands down one of the hardest missions in the campaign mode. Also on account of this man being absolutely unhinged. Next, I don't really know where Spike would want to practice for Team Koopaling, hence why I have Spike as a wanderer, but he has become a playable staple in recent years. So even if Expensive Mario Kart didn't already include him, I probably would have added him myself to the expansion anyway. Spike does have a different form that can be unlocked here, Stone Spike, who is a reversed blue with green hair. Simple, though I will say that the only good image I can find of that character is this. Same energy that the Bikini Bottom fish exudes in Cross Worlds. Horrifying. Like the previous two, Spike is team exclusive and can only be recruited to join Team Koopaling, along with the Piranha Plant. Seriously, what is Nintendo's obsession with this thing? We already have Petey, who I would argue is a lot more iconic. Okay, maybe not as much after Piranha Plant's Smash debut, but in terms of Mario Kart, Petey has a lot more street cred. I mean, it's fine. I don't hate his inclusion, just more baffled than anything else. Piranha Plant gets 3 additional colors since, well, Nintendo loves him. First is the classic yellow color matching the original Super Mario Bros, which, fun fact, the first time we ever saw the more used red plant is in the Lost levels. Second alt will be the purple head with spiky vines that we see in Galaxy. And last is the bone plant, first seen in New Super Mario Bros. 2. That's again the coin one. Yeah, I could add more, but I'm gonna hold off, otherwise this video will be getting an extra hour. As for the last wanderer in this group, and the only neutral racer of the bunch, we have the Coin Coffer. And even having played Super Mario 3D Land 100% multiple times, I still have no clue what to make of this creature. Other than that it's a spiritual successor to the Speedy enemy from Mario 64, which, wait, I don't even know what to make of that enemy either. Apparently it's called a Moneybags. Coin Coffer gets 2 alts, yeah, I know. First is a money bag because why not? The second is a red coin coffer from, are you sitting down? Puzzles and Dragons, Super Mario Bros. Edition. I am just referencing every Mario game in this video.
Somebody stop me!
Alright, we've got more practice under our belts and more challenges won. I think it's time to start the real show in the Cross Quad Cup. Are you ready for a real challenge? The Cross Quad Cup is another giant Grand Prix, with 12 racers total on the courses that didn't make it into the Clash Cup. With 6 racers per team equaling out to the intended 24, you'll have less racers to choose from to join the race with you this time, so make your selections count. Thankfully, your team captain won't take a mandatory slot since you already unlocked them to be playable, so you have complete control over the 6 you want with you. And thankfully, there's no crazy twist this time. You have 12 races to get the most points with 3 other teams trying to steal victory from you. All you need to do is win. And when you finally do, your reward is handed over to you, the player. The ground begins to shake as everyone present for the award ceremony begins to panic over what feels like an earthquake. The camera zooms out all the way until you can see the surrounding area. From underneath the ground, not too far from Peach Stadium, a tower blasts from below the ground and begins to emerge. And then another tower emerges elsewhere in the world. And then another near Bowser's castle. And then another. And then another. And then, yeah, you get it. If you're watching the screen, I'm playing the cutscene from Breath of the Wild when the ancient Sheikah Towers emerged from the earth in the beginning of the game. Except the ones that you see here in Mario Kart would not be that gigantic. They would not destroy any existing landmarks or roads, and they wouldn't look ancient at all. In fact, they would look exactly like the towers that you would find dotted around Peach's castle grounds in Super Mario Odyssey. And to be honest, they would have the exact same purpose. Oh, well, would you look at that? I just used a previously existing Mario game to propose how new courses could be added into Expensive Mario Kart. Am I a genius or what? But before we get into these new courses, we still have a few wandering racers to cover. Yeah, these guys would only start driving around the world map after clearing the Cross Quad Cup, so it's essentially post-game for the campaign mode. But that just means that there's still a lot to do after, quote, defeating the final boss. Once I finish talking about these wandering racers, I'll then change gears and start to talk about the new courses I would bring into the Dream expansion. But, predictable plot twist, which means it's not a plot twist at all, there are still a few racers to talk about even after these wandering racers. Yeah, like I said, I'm making this game worth $80. Among the final phase of wandering racers, not counting the alts of characters we already discussed, we have one that can only join Team Koopaling, one that can only join Team Toadstool, and 8 racers that are neutral. Hot damn, this roster is enormous. You're welcome, Mario Kart players and fans. First up is the Team Koopaling exclusive, the final Koopaling. And if the Bowser's Inside Story re-release is anything to go by, Ludwig is gonna hide in the shadows and watch Junior fend for himself until he proves himself, which in this case is beating the whole damn campaign mode and hunting Ludwig's ass down afterward.
Why isn't Chain Chomp a driver in Mario Kart? If they can play tennis, they can probably drive a car. Give them a chance. I think they're cute.
Next is the Team Toadstool exclusive, who probably wouldn't actually join Team Toadstool if I'm being honest. But unfortunately, Chain Chomp was one of the last characters that I wanted to add, and eventually I had to throw in the towel if I wanted the teams to be balanced. So I added him on the other team on the grounds that Peach does own Chain Chomps, especially in Mario Kart. See Peach Gardens from every game that course appears in. Yeah, it's flimsy, but I'm trying my best here. See also Double Dash. Chain Chomp gets one alt, the literal piping hot orange Chomp with the scar that we saw in Sunshine. I know that he's only orange because of the heat he's exuding, and he's actually gold in color, but one, we've been over this. No one else gets to go gold except him. And two, I see this as an excuse to call this version Scalding Chomp and let him keep his high temp color. I know I'm taking quite a few liberties here, but I really like the look of an orange Chain Chomp, and I do not want to let that go if I can get away with it. Speaking of him, it's time to get cancelled! The next group of Wanderers are everybody's favorite shiny clones, Metal Mario and Pink Gold Peach. You should be very thankful, Pink Gold Peach, because the only reason you got to return to the roster is because the Mario universe has already provided us with a perfect third edition for your little posse with Metal Mario. That's right, everybody! There is actually an existing representative that could slide right into the Mario Kart roster alongside Metal Mario and Pink Gold Peach. And that character is Gooigi. And thanks to his inclusion, I felt okay with letting the other two stay for a neat little trio of heavyweight doppelgangers. Of the three, only Metal Mario gets an alt, and yeah, it's Gold Mario. Like I haven't been denying other characters from going Goldengo because I think it was a big deal in 8 Deluxe. Getting him is a little different from the rest of the cast, as well as how he was unlocked on the Switch 1, where the only way to unlock him here is by collecting 9,999 coins throughout all the modes. Honestly, given how easy it was to achieve that number in Mario Kart 8, you should have no problem reaching that amount in Expensive Mario Kart. Don't worry, you don't have to buy him. You unlock him the moment you collect the coins. There are 5 Wanderers left in this section, but 4 of them are part of the same group, so let's talk about the lone outlier first. The grand return of our first guest racer, Robotic Operating Buddy. Yup, he's back, because he never really should have left to begin with. Rob's 2 color choices are about as simple as you'd expect. One is colored after the NES, and the other is colored after the Famicom. And I'd have both versions wandering around the map, mostly because both versions served as the only version for their region, and I didn't want one taking priority over the other, so you get both. And now for the final 4 Wanderers of the world map. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Brutals. Topper, Spewart, Harriet, and Rango. The only reason why these guys aren't joining any particular team is because I liked how I managed to balance out Team Toadstool with Team Koopaling in the end, and adding these 4 would ruin all of that. Anyways, yeah, the Brutals got absolutely humiliated after the events of Odyssey. But after hearing about the kart tournament that anyone can join, I bet these guys just can't resist the chance at some morally acceptable payback against Mario. Of course, I'm positive that if the Koopalings were allowed to race, then Peach could very well lend an olive branch to these guys as well for the sake of fun competition. I considered their leader Brood for this roster too, but by this point the number of characters were filling up really fast and I had to draw the line at least somewhere. So sorry if you're mad at me for not including her. So, like I said before, the Wanderers that I just talked about will start driving around after winning the Cross Quad Cup, which is essentially beating the main campaign. However, there is still a whole lot to do in the Grand Clash mode after winning that tournament. After all, a bunch of towers sprang up from the ground, so I guess we better head over and see what we can find inside of them. Which means it's finally time to talk about...
Here we go!
Well, I plan to avoid any and all other videos that talk about improving Expensive Mario Kart until after this video is released. So I suppose that it's possible that someone else may have come up with this already and I'm about to look both very stupid and possibly plagiaristic. But Whatever. Talking is what I do worst. Before I start rambling about new courses, here's how I would have them function on the world map, as in I'm about to go into even more details and make this video even longer. I'm not getting paid to do this, I'm doing it because it's fun. Let me yak! Like I said, I would essentially be copying and pasting the towers that we saw around Peach's castle in Odyssey. In case you haven't played that game, Mario would enter the tower where we would then be greeted with a giant painting portal in a fancy Super Mario 64-esque room. In Odyssey, these paintings would be a depiction of the bosses that you fought throughout the game, and entering the paintings would teleport you to a rematch of that boss fight. Pretty cool, honestly, for the game to loop back around to Mario 64 like that, and I think this kind of system would work great for Expensive Mario Kart. Especially since this driving into a portal thing is exactly how you would finally unlock mirror mode after finishing the required checklist, driving into Peach's stained glass window on her castle roof. And it would work the same way here traveling to the new Dream expansion courses. Find the tower, and once you're inside, drive off the ramp and into the painting portal, where you would then enter a pocket space containing the course and a pretty decent size of the surrounding area given the context of the course. These towers would be dotted around open spaces on the world map that don't really have anything already there. Obviously, they wouldn't overlap with already existing courses. This would admittedly be a bit hard to use for intermission races from one course to the next due to there only being a single point of entry and exiting, but the way that I see it, there are over 200-ish intermission courses. I think that's plenty. Besides, these extra courses are meant to be additions, so I'm not all that worried about connecting them with roads and whatnot to make intermission courses possible. My point is, these DLC courses are meant to be found via exploration after clearing the campaign mode, and I think it's the courses themselves that should stand out. Not the path from course A to B, but what do I know? Nintendo clearly has their priorities in order. Anyways, we still have quite a few more racers to talk about, so let's sprinkle them in as we go over some DLC course ideas I think would make great additions to Expensive Mario Kart's world map. First things first, I want to give a course to each of the 4 captains of the teams repped in the Dream expansion. Team Koopaling and Team Toadstool would get brand new courses, as well as Team Kong and Team Diamond. But they're not really gonna reference the captains themselves so much as they'd reference a past title that they had the starring role in. Mostly. Let's start with King Koopa's new course, because while he wasn't in the protagonist's role in the game this course is pulling from, he basically stole the show in it. He might as well be called the star here. I am, of course, talking about Bowser's Fury, the side game to 3D World on the Switch 1, which might as well be its own game. And the concept is pretty baller. Whatever Junior did to piss off his father was so extreme that Bowser's anger just became directed at anything that moves. So that's fun. Anyways, welcome back to Lake Lapcat. This course would be a 4-part sectioned course that would include 3 of the obstacle course-like locales to drive through. The first lap would be a sunlight-bathed fur-step aisles and scamper shores where you drive around several of Junior's marooned ships and climb up a recreation of the first island. Finishing up the lap by driving into the lighthouse where you would then be launched out the top and take a short glide to Slip Skate Slope where as you sled down the icy tower, you notice that the sky is starting to, darken up a bit. Once you're through the slopes and slide off the final ramp, you're entering lap 3, driving through a hazardous obstacles everywhere jet ski passageway like how Mario rode on Plessy and, oh, it's starting to rain. Well, I'm sure it'll pass, right? After a bit of racing through the water, you reach the final lap, Mount Magmeow, and oh good, Furious Bowser's back as you blitz up the lava-pluming mountain, which really combines well with the intense downpouring and blood-red clouds. I'm sure even Bowser on the track is like, wait, why are there 2 of us now? And why is that Bowser pulling a Galaxy 2? He's 10 times my normal size! Yeah, it's better to just not think about it, my lord. How Furious Bowser would work on this course is dependent on the racer in first place. As in, he tracks the person in the lead and triggers into his next phase upon someone's start at the next lap. Once someone enters the final lap, Angie Bowsy begins his assault. He isn't gonna do any sweeping flame attacks this time, but he is gonna have lava rain down from above alongside blocks that can block large spots in the road. See what I did there? And he also can slam his fist anywhere on the track. So look out for all of that as you climb the top of the feline volcano. If you're in 24th place, you're going to be seeing Furious Bowser a lot sooner in the race than the rest since you're so far behind. But since he focuses more on the leaders in the pack, you should be fine. Maybe. Hopefully. Inky Bowser will continue to rampage on the course until every single racer clears the finish line, so don't let up until it's all over. Oh, but during free mode and Grand Clash mode, Furious Bowser works on equally timed intervals, so if you're practicing on the course, he'll eventually piss off and come back much later. I think this mechanic could be really fun for a Mario Kart race, almost as fun as the game I'm pulling this from, though I will confess that I did tell Bowser to f**k off more than once when I was nearing the end of the game, and he would not despawn. Luckily, it's a bit more controlled here. If you were able to reach Lake Lapcat, then you've already cleared Grand Clash's final challenge on paper. But I guarantee you that there's still plenty of racers to recruit and way more challenges to conquer now that there are a bunch of towers now scattered around. Anyways, if you drive into the tower and arrive at Lake Lapcat, you'll eventually run into 3 new racers that are still willing to join your team. Specifically, they're all for Team Toadstool, which is funny since this is supposed to be a Bowser-themed course, but I digress. You can find a Sprixie princess driving around the course itself, and yes, all 7 princesses would be unlockable and playable with the green princess being the default option once you impress her by clearing her mission. And from there, you can find the remaining 6 colors in a variety of ways as I've been showing on screen for your convenience. I haven't actually been listing out weight classes past the usual light, medium, and heavy sets, but I'm fairly confident that the Sprixies would be the lightest characters in the game, if not among the lightest with Mallow and Swoop. Alongside recruiting the Sprixie, you can also find Plessie here, hanging out next to her cart on the Scamper Shores section of the course. Okay, I gotta say something and I gotta say it badly. How did this lovable dino not make the roster among the critters? Well, we're changing that ASAP. I missed you, buddy. Plessie would have 2 alts, her normal orange color, as well as her cat form, which makes her yellow in color and obviously includes her new cat ears and tail. God, I'm so mad she's not already in, you have no idea. As for the third character, I have Poochie, because even though it's a Birdo-themed course, it didn't feel right having him at Salty Speedway despite Yoshi and Birdo being there. Either way, this course is where you can find him. He doesn't have any alts, at least not until we see the fun colors Poochie got from Woolly World given to the actual Poochie. So that was the first DLC course I would add. Just a heads up, I will not be going into exhausting detail into every course I'd add as DLC. It's just that I had such a cool idea for Lake Lapcat that I really wanted to expand on that initial brainstorm I had for it. Also, just assume that if this stream expansion was real by some insane miracle, there would be more courses added than the ones that I'll be talking about here. I'm just going over a few ideas that I think would be really cool, and obviously I'm taking some pretty crazy liberties with all this. That's just how think tanks work. Alright, DLC course number 2, titled question mark. Okay, that joke wasn't very funny. I want to reserve a new course for Donkey Kong that would very easily get a course themed around an area in Bonanza, but as of the release of this video, I don't own that game yet. And I wouldn't want to just guess on what the course could be like. I think I'll just take advice from the comment section, people with more credentials to talk about Donkey Kong than me. Maybe if this video ever gets a sequel, I'll have played Bonanza by then and can update this part of the video. God, could you imagine a part 2 for this jumbo jet of a dream concept video? You know what? I changed my mind. Lake Lapcat is the Team Toadstool course. And what we have here is the Team Koopaling course. No takesy backsies! I have been begging for either Wario Coliseum itself to return or for us to get a spiritual successor to it ever since we first had Wario Coliseum on Double Dash. This is my favorite course in the entirety of Mario Kart's history, even outranking my #1 pick from my Mario Kart 8 ranked video. Just flailing and getting thrown around in a literal Thunderdome was the coolest thing ever, and while I do understand that many people think the execution was ass, why not let Nintendo give it a second try now in a future Mario Kart game? Or this one, if I had any say in it. Electrodrome was a close attempt, and I do love that course a lot, but that didn't really have the same feeling of getting turned into butter that Double Dash provided. So how about we give this concept another go? Wario's getting his own course in the very next segment, so rather than him designing the blueprints, I have a better idea. Let's have Bowser do it. A real next level kind of situation from the King of Koopas, providing us the same kind of cage rage as Wario Coliseum did. And you know what? Just for this course, I'm bringing back Mario Kart 8's anti-gravity mechanic. This course is even gonna make me throw up. A gigantic dome like before, except bigger, more traps, and a few branching paths. Your move, Nintendo! I call it Daunting Coliseum. And who are you gonna run into upon diving into the portrait portal? Oh, just 3 bosses from previous games that want a tough challenge. King Boo is up first, and this is where he's been hiding, completely out of sight until you earned the Cross Quad Cup for yourself. I was originally going to have King Babam be here and have King Boo join Junior in the story, but the more I thought about it, the more I began to believe that King Boo only really joins Bowser in the latter's evil schemes when it's convenient for him, while King Babam seems more like a loyal ally to the Koopa King through thick and thin. This is especially apparent when you play the Luigi's Mansion games and King Boo is the main antagonist front and center, while Bowser is nowhere to be found, save for references. So yeah, the king has been here, waiting for a real racer to step up and challenge him. As for costumes and whatnot, I think it's pretty obvious what alt he should get. Those red eyes and that blue tongue is iconic. I'm really shocked that we only ever got to see him race with his Luigi's Mansion colors in Tour. Also braving the daunting Coliseum is Petey Piranha, who I learned way too late from the Mario Wiki that he too was also a loyal follower of Bowser. Just like King Boo. Son of a bitch. Oh well, too late now. I'm not swapping the initial 9 of Team Koopaling after writing 50 pages of this shit. He can hang out here. Since I'm not giving any gold alts to anyone except Metal Mario, Petey can don his helmet and protection gear from Strikers Charged. And last but not least, the final racer here at the Coliseum, a boss from a previous Mario game that now stands as a playable racer. And it's another whammy. I chose Rolo Dillo from Galaxy 2. Again, a real plot twist of a pick. I wanted to add a boss from one of the Galaxy games to serve as a rep like how King Babam and Petey are to 64 and Sunshine respectively, and I think I made a rather fun choice. Since Rolodillo is supposed to be massive, I think it'd be fun if he shared the same weight class as Bowser. Which, if you didn't know, in Expensive Mario Kart, Bowser is the largest and heaviest character in the game, to where he's in his own weight class by himself. Until you unlock Rolodillo, that is. I know that Morton tied with Bowser in 8 as the 2 heaviest characters, but I'm gonna be real, I refuse to believe that these two share the same weight. What the hell is Morton eating to match Bowser if that's the case? Nah, I think Morton should be right below Bowser and Rolo in that case if I'm gonna follow Nintendo's logic. Have him be tied with Wario and Funky Kong. Unfortunately, since Rolodillo is such an obscure boss, he doesn't have an alt I can add. Sorry, big guy. Moving on to the next course, this time for Wario. As much as I'd love to make a WarioWare themed course to match the inclusion of Team Diamond, I made a proposition in my previous Mario Kart video and I'm sticking with my guns. Have you heard of an obscure little title called Wario World for the Nintendo GameCube? Well, it's on the GameCube Selects now, so most of you have no excuse to not give it a shot. It's small and quaint, and I love it. Honestly, any level from that game could serve as a badass course. I specifically mentioned Wonky Circus, and I do stand by what I said. That level would be a fun race course. However, there is another level from that game that I think would be even better. The last level, Pecan Sands. Mario Kart desert courses are some of the worst in the franchise, but I think Ironside Tomb could be an iconic course. Weave your way up the massive pyramid while avoiding all the bizarre Wario World baddies and bosses from throughout the game, including the iconic Winter Winster, air swimming halfway up the pyramid above your head, and once you reach the top while passing this horrific monstrosity, you'd fall straight down into the lava chamber, where the boss of the whole level, Ironsider, would start bouncing around the platform, along with his chess piece looking hands. Dodge them all and zip into a secret passage and out of the pyramid, returning you to the start of the course. I'm not sure if I ever revealed this to you all, but I am a huge fan of Wario games. Both the Wario Land and the WarioWare series. I really just wanted to have some kind of reference to Wario World again. And this is how I did it. Again. Next up, I want a course from Odyssey. There's a lot of good kingdoms to choose from, and I'm sure others would argue for other locales to turn into race courses, but I know what I like, and I want the Ruined Kingdom expanded. Crumbled Castle would be a bit on the smaller side compared to the other DLC courses I'd add, but it would also involve having to avoid the dragon throughout the entire run. Not just near the end like in Lake Lapcat, which I think would make up for the size and would also make for a good challenging race. Man, we've been referencing a lot of different Mario games, haven't we? We've seen courses based on Mario 64, Mario Galaxy, Mario Sunshine, and we've added both a Mario 3D World course in Lake Lapcat and an Odyssey course in Crumbled Castle. We also have direct pulls from both Donkey Kong Bonanza and Wario World. How much further can we go? Are there any other Mario games or franchises that I could maybe reference? Anyone who plays video games with me knows that I hate the Mario Party franchise, but that doesn't mean that I think those games should not exist. I just personally don't like playing them. To me, the whole series just feels like a big heaping pound of luck decides the winner gameplay. Mario Party 5 is the only game in the series that I own. Alright, that's actually wrong. I know I own the 8th game somewhere, but forgive me if I don't feel like digging through my storage boxes to find that one for the purposes of this video. So inspiration from Mario Party 5 will have to do. Also, look at Dragon Driftway for a second. Then look at Pagoda Peak from Mario Party 7. Yeah, Mario Kart is no stranger to Mario Party references. There are 7 total boards in Mario Party 5, and I considered pretty much none of them because Pirate Dream, my favorite board, was right there from the start. It's perfect. Wario's Shipyard is already an expensive Mario Kart, but I'm sorry, I don't care. This is the only board from Mario Party 5 I'd want referenced. Toy Dream would be an admittedly good second place, but no. Let's just put the tower for Pirate Dream nearby Wario Shipyard, and for Pete's sake, just let me have this! Anyways, Pillaging Peak would be fun. Climb the mountain, ride off a ramp onto that tiny ship, and there could even be a part where you have to avoid rolling boulders Sonic Hero style. The boulder wouldn't be able to chase you from behind since that's where the competition would most likely be during a race if you're skilled enough, so having it roll around like a half pipe somewhere would work just fine.
You may be big, but you ain't bad. The boulder's gonna win this in a landslide.
Warning! You are now entering Guest Racer territory! So I actually had a dream while at work where for the next game after Expensive Mario Kart, Link would be ditched as a character, but instead Zelda would be playable, looking the same way as she would at the start of Tears of the Kingdom, and would include a brand new Zelda-themed course, actually based on a section of the Hyrule that we see in-game. So, now that I actually had time to think about it, guess what I ended up doing? Yep, I went there. It was a really, really good dream. I think having a course based on the theming and topography of Tears of the Kingdom would be a slick idea, and since Link was part of the roster for Mario Kart 8, I don't feel weird having a brand new Hyrule-themed course appear in the Dream expansion. When I think of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom's Hyrule, my mind immediately jumps to Calamity Ganon surrounding Hyrule Castle. But that might be a little too similar to Bowser's Castle. It also butts heads with the Ruined Kingdom idea I had not too long ago. So maybe a location besides just Hyrule Castle would work. Also, we have raced through Hyrule Castle before in Mario Kart 8, so maybe a location besides Hyrule Castle could work here. I have played Tears of the Kingdom, because of course I did. Are you kidding me? Age of Imprisonment was coming out, and I know I couldn't really play that game without catching up on the lore first. Anyways, I thought about what landmark within Tears of the Kingdom could serve as a good race course, and I ultimately decided on the Great Deku Tree and the Lost Woods. Not only is this a great way to reference both games that make up the era of the Wilds, but using this spot would also let me use the winding paths of the Lost Woods to my advantage. Think about it. The racers would have multiple paths to drive on while a mystical fog blows around, unable to know how far ahead or behind the other racers are since they all took different paths. Eventually, the forks in the road all lead back into Korok Village with the Master Sword on the pedestal and the Great Deku Tree itself towering over everything. Racers would then drive into the Deku Tree's open door and plummet into the depths, where everyone would have to avoid monsters and gloom hands as they navigate the dark path until eventually they would find a special fan contraption on the floor where Pura and Robbie would watch and wave as the racers are blown back up to the surface as they return to the winding paths of the Lost Woods. This is a great idea. Yeah, I know that the Sky Islands are more iconic in a way, but in my opinion, the Lost Woods is more Zelda-y. Now, before I forget, with Rob being the exception, none of the guest characters I've added to the Dream expansion would get alts or costumes. Not even Zelda, who can be found standing before the Great Deku Tree along with a few of the Koroks. I like to imagine there'd be a whole story cutscene where Zelda is questioning how the player even arrived in Korok Forest. And after some rigmarole, Zelda summons the Master Cycle Zero and decides to join the races just like Link did beforehand. And with that, complete her challenge mission and we have our second guest racer. Awesome! Whoops, I almost forgot. Remember several hours ago when I said that Purple Toad can trigger a fun Easter egg under the right conditions? Well, Zelda is that condition. Come in first place as Purple Toad during a race that Zelda also competed in, and this victory theme will start to play instead of the usual track. Okay, so this next course is a bit of a cop-out, and as soon as I reveal it to you, maybe you'll understand why. It's Big Blue. You know, that god-tier course representing the F-Zero series that we already got from Mario Kart 8? Seriously, I've been playing a few of the F-Zero games available from Nintendo Switch Online, and while I did consider picking another course from a different planet to separate from the two that we've already gotten in 8, yeah, screw it, just bring Big Blue back. No need to really alter it in any way, it's peak as it is. And since this is already a course that I don't really need to dwell on, I'll just jump to the 2 new guest racers that we can find here. That's right, I said 2! Captain Falcon with the Blue Falcon, because if there's any character that deserves to be in Nintendo's best racing series, it's the goddamn professional kart racing bounty hunter himself. And Jodie Summer with her vehicle, the White Cat. Arguably the other main character of the F-Zero series, if not Rick Wheeler from the anime, but I'm not opening that can of worms today. Jodie, another female heavyweight, would fit this game just as well, but if not her, at least Captain Falcon. Also, can we get a new F-Zero game please, for the love of God? I'm on my paws and knees here!
Sorry to keep you waiting.
I only added that voice line of Pitt's into the video because it annoys the shit out of C&B and Rose, even after more than 10 years later when I accidentally adjusted the volume setting in Kid Icarus Uprising in their vicinity. If you haven't played Kid Icarus Uprising, then the next course I want to add is going to make you scratch your head. But late into the game, Pitt explores this giant tower in order to earn the right to ride the Lightning Chariot, which he plans to use to break through a magic barrier and rescue Palutena from a monstrous parasite controlling her body. At the top of the tower, the master of the Lightning Chariot challenges Pitt to a test to see if he's worthy, and just look at the screen! I want to race on this course so badly. Not to mention that Kid Icarus Uprising is a fun as hell game. Obviously, the course we'd get in the Dream expansion isn't going to be a direct rip, but the aesthetic and general idea is the same. We'd have a much windier version, more akin to a racetrack instead of a simple loop like we see in Uprising. And who else would be waiting for us here in the Trial of the Chariot than Pitt himself?
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Yeah, it was funny the first time, Pitt. You also get a new bike, the Exo Tank, because if anyone could ride the Lightning Chariot, then that would defeat the purpose of the Lightning Chariot. Instead, we'd see the 2 unicorns that pull the chariot, Foss and Lux separately, flying around the course as you weave your way around avoiding monsters sent from the underworld. A relatively simple course, but one I think would be amazing, especially if it means that we get a remix of the boss theme from Uprising playing in the background. I added 5 guest racers into the Dream expansion. 6 if you want to count Rob, which I have been actually. Zelda, Pitt, Jodie, and Captain Falcon. Meaning that there's only 1 racer left to reveal, and it's the most out-of-pocket whammy character of them all. Yeah, I'm gonna be that guy again. For the final newcomer and final racer to add to the roster of Expensive Mario Kart, well, I wanted to add a Pokemon. But I wasn't about to add Pikachu, and I'm not so shallow that I'd add Furfrou either. Nah. For this giant thought experiment, I really did sit down and think about it for a long time. And you know what? I wanted to pick a Pokemon that no one could have predicted. No joke, literally a Pokemon that always just kinda existed along with the rest, and while that Pokemon no doubt has favorites, the bigwigs over at headquarters are probably just gonna relegate it as just another one to add to the roster of the next Pokemon game and never think twice about allowing them to participate in a spin-off game. There are over 1,000 Pokemon now. Let's have a true rando be special for once. The final racer for Expensive Mario Kart's Dream expansion is Floatzel. Congratulations, you beautiful weasel! You made the final cut! Now jump on a motorcycle and show the rest of the Nintendo universe what you're made of! And yes, I am including a Pokemon-themed course to go with him. And since I get to pick what to take inspiration from, first of all I'm choosing the game that we actually see cars drive in, Pokemon Gen 5. As for the actual location, I think Driftvale City would be a nice choice, giving us a whole new city to drive around in. Though I doubt it would be as big as Crown City in free roam mode. To be honest, I don't have an overlaying idea for this one on how the race would actually go, other than that I would have lots of different Pokemon, more than just Gen 5, all around, both watching the race and serving as obstacles on the track. And I would also want a part of the race to drive across the Driftvale drawbridge, both on the bridge itself, where you would have to dodge flying Pokemon like Swanna and Emoga as they swoop in from above, and below the bridge in the water, where the draw would raise and you'd have to cross under, taking you back to the starting line in the main part of the city. Well, I think we finally covered everything. Every new character I would add to the Dream expansion, and every new course that I thought would be a good idea. You might be thinking, what's left? Is there anything we might have missed? There is one last thing I'd like to talk about in this Dream expansion. Expensive Mario Kart would be getting a lot of new collectibles as I've been showing them on screen. Karts, bikes, decals, the works. However, as far as racers go, you might have forgotten that while I did go over every single character that I wanted to add in this roster, there was an alternate skin for one of the racers that I intentionally kept hidden and said that I would get back to later. Well, I'm sure that most of you could have guessed why I chose to do that. It's because I wanted this character to be the very last one that I talk about. Do you guys remember the final unlockable for Mario Kart 8? Well, I guess calling him the final unlockable is a stretch because he was the only unlockable racer in the deluxe game. But in case you haven't played Mario Kart 8 for Switch during the now more than a decade that the game was prevalent in, you could unlock the final character by first placing every single course in 200cc. And what was your reward for doing that? Gold Mario. At the time, a new variant for Metal Mario. Well, I wanted to continue that trend, but I didn't want to just do another gold alt. Instead, I want this character option to be a straight up Mario Kart reference. And what is the most iconic event in any Mario Kart game?
HQ, this is Stone Item 1, preparing forward. We have a lock on our target and are ready to strike.
Damn right, it's getting murked by a spiny blue shell and losing your first place right next to the finish line. That damn shell is so infamous that I think it's finally time to play as it. Yeah, that's right. You knew exactly where this was going the moment I brought up that shell. Play the clip.
You can't escape me. What? Blue shell!
Yup, another character from the movie made the last cut. If you manage to clear every single challenge mission throughout the world in Grand Clash mode, as well as earn triple stars in both the Clash Cup and the Cross Quad Cup in 150cc Grand Prix mode, which would be available after clearing each one in Grand Clash mode, you would unlock the final secret character alt, General Koopa, the canon owner of the spiny blue shell. And that's it. I think I've said all that needs to be said. And now that I've covered everything that I wanted to for this dream game, let's have some fun and count just how many games from the Mario universe that I managed to draw inspiration from just from the characters alone. You guys ready?
It's a me, a Mario.
That's Mama Luigi to you, Mario!
Show me your moves. Show me your moves.